The Honorable Senate President and the Senators of the Republic of the Philippines.
The 33rd session in the first regular session of the 19th Congress is hereby called to order. Our distinguished colleague from the city of San Juan, Senator Jingo Estrada, will lead the chamber in prayer.
Damdamin po natin ang presensya ng ating makapangyarihang Diyos Ama, Anak at Espiritu Santo. Maraming po salamat sa pagkakataon ito na kami nakapagtipon upang tuparin ang aming tungkulin bilang mamabatas ng bansang Pilipinas. Maraming po salamat sa kalakasan, kalusugan, karunungan, kagalingan at dedikasyon sa paglilingkod na iginawad po ninyo sa amin upang araw-araw namin kaharapin ang mga hamon at malakid sa aming mga trabaho at responsibilidad. Panginoon, ipahintulot po ninyo na ang bawat gagawin namin sa kongresong ito ay makapag-aambag sa tunay na ikabubuti at kainam ng buhay ng bawat pamilyang Pilipino. Naway ang bawat pagdinig, bawat deliberasyon, bawat pagpupulong, bawat panukalang batas na tatalakayin at ipapasa namin at bawat desisyon na mapapagkasundoan at makapagkayarihan namin ay naayon sa inyong mabuting kalooban. Palagian po ninyo kaming pagpalain upang kami patuloy na maging mabuting tao, mabuting tagapaglingkod at mabuting ama, ina, kapamilya sa aming mga tahanan. Pagpalain po ninyo ang aming mahal na bansang Pilipinas at ang buong sambayan ng Pilipino upang kami ay makabangon muli sa tanikalaan ng kahirapan, ang hinagpis at pasakit ng mga nagdaang unos at trahedya at pinagdadaan ng pandemya, krisis at pag-iikahos. You have called us to service and we humbly submit ourselves to your noble plan. Make us worthy of your trust, the mandate and the mission you have bestowed upon us. Make us channels of your mercy and compassion. Use us as instruments of truth, justice, freedom, equality, love and peace for the Filipino people. This we ask in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, through the intercession of our Blessed Mother, the Virgin Mary. Amen.
Amen. Session suspended. Secretary, please call the roll of members.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senator Angara, Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Escudero, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Ligarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino, Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, the Senate President.
Binira mo si Binay? Nandiyan si Binay sa 18? Okay. With 18 senators present, though 19 senators present, I see 20. I see Senator Chis Escudero, Senator Bato de la Rosa. With 20 senators present, the chair declares presence of a quorum.
Yes, Mr.
Majority
President.
Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 32nd session, Monday, November 28, 2022, and consider the same as approved.
There being no objection to the motion, motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
There being no objection, motion is approved. Secretary, please proceed.
Bills on first reading. Senate Number 1552, establishing a framework for the promotion and development of a vibrant bamboo industry in the Philippines, providing for its scientific propagation and sustainable utilization, creating the National Bamboo Council of the Philippines, allocating funds and for other purposes. Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Trade, Commerce, Ways and Means to Finance.
1553, increasing the personnel economic relief allowance granted to government employees to 5,000 pesos, appropriating funds therefore. Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Civil Service, Government Reorg and Finance.
1554, regulating the catching, sale, purchase, possession, transportation, importation, and exportation of all sharks, rays, and chimeras, and any part thereof in the country. Senator Ejercito.
To the Committee on Agriculture, Food, Agrarian Reform, Environment, Natural Resources, Climate Change.
1555, establishing the National Center for Geriatric Health and Research Institute, defining its powers and functions, creating regional geriatric specialty centers in the Department of Health, retained hospitals, and appropriating funds therefore. Senator Ejercito.
To the Committees on Health and Demography, Ways and Means of Finance.
1556, strengthening the employment rights for members of the Citizen Armed Forces of the Reserve Force of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and for other purposes. Senator Revilla Jr.
Committees on Labor and Employment, National Defense, Ways and Means of Finance.
Resolutions 319, inquiring in aid of legislation as to the current status of the traffic management plan in the Philippines, pending the end of the COVID-19 pandemic. Senator Villar M.
Committee on Public Services.
320, recognizing and commending May Rachel A. Sestina Parsons for receiving the prestigious George Cross Award from the UK government. Senator Marcos.
Committee on Rules.
321, directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the delays on the conduct of the decommissioning of the MILF forces and weapons. Senator Marcos.
Committees on National Defense and Security.
322, commending Filipino para-athlete Ashiel Guion for winning 2 gold medals in the 2022 World Para Powerlifting African Championship held in Cairo, Egypt. Senator Revilla Jr.
Committee on Rules.
323, recognizing and commending the 2022 Galing Pook awardees for being exemplars of innovative and good governance. Senator Revilla Jr.
To the Committee on Rules.
324, commending Filipino para-athlete Ariel Joseph Alegarbes for winning silver medal in the 2022 Virtus Oceania Asia Games held in Brisbane, Australia. Senator Revilla Jr.
To the Committee on Rules.
325, congratulating and commending the Batangas State University Engineering Students Team for being the champion university category in the Engineering Innovation Challenge 2022 held in Singapore. Senator Villanueva.
To the Committee on Rules.
326, resolution congratulating, commending Sandy Abahan and Enrico Mahilum for being crowned world champions of the 2022 Altitude Obstacle Course Racing World Championships held in Mount Everest. Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Rules.
327, commending Filipino boxer Ronel Suyum for winning the silver medal in the men's 46 to 48 kilogram division at the 2022 International Boxing Association World Youth Boxing Championship held in La Nucia, Spain. Senator Revilla Jr.
To the Committee on Rules.
328, commending Rodolfo Lana Jr. for his film About But Not About Us being selected as the Critics' Best Film at the 26th Black Nights Film Festival held in Tallinn, Estonia. Senator Revilla Jr.
To the Committee on Rules.
329, recognizing and congratulating Maria Lovella Catalan and Jackie Luz Suarez for their impressive performance at the 2022 SIA Deaf Games. Senator Villanueva.
To the Committee on Rules. Session suspended.
Madam President, at this juncture, I move that we consider additional reference of business. I so move, Mr. President.
Proceed. Please proceed.
Message from the House. Letter from the House informing the Senate that on 21 November 2022, it designated Representatives Co. E. Kimbo Recto Gonzales Jr., Dalipe, Marcos, Suarez, Gonzales II, Aquino II, Bongalon, Madrona, Duavit, Libanan, and Lagman as conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing votes of House Number 4488, appropriating funds for the operation of the government of the Republic of the Philippines from January 1 to December 31, 2023.
Referred to the Committee on Rules.
Letter from the House informing the Senate that on 21 November 2022, it passed the following House bills in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate. House Number 454, providing enhanced protection, security, and benefits for media workers.
Referred to the Committees on Labor, Employment, Human Resources Development, Public Information, Mass Media.
5819, dividing Barangay 176 into 6 separate and independent barangays to be known as Barangay 176A, 176B, 176C, 176D, 176E, and 176F. 5820, separating the sitios sa Kaingan, Butak, Koskosnong, Longboy, Bangkag, and Butige from Barangay Manatong, Suyo, Ilocos Sur, into a distinct and independent barangay to be known as Barangay Butak. 5821, creating a barangay in the city of Taguig to be known as Barangay Katuparan. 5822, separating the sitios of Kimbuaya, Longboy, Bulala, Kinapian, Indadangan, Kumanibe, and Makaag from Suyo proper, Suyo, Ilocos Sur, and constituting them into a distinct and independent Barangay Kinapian. 5823, dividing Barangay Adams in Adams, Ilocos Norte into 3 barangays to be known as Barangay Adan, Bucarot, and Malasin.
Referred to the Committees on Local Government, Electoral Reforms, People's Participation.
5824, declaring June 6 of every year a special non-working holiday in Bansalan, Davao del Sur. 5826, declaring September 1 a special non-working holiday in Bukidnon to be known as Araw ng Bukidnon. 5827, declaring March 21 a special working holiday in Calapan, Province of Oriental Mindoro. 5828, declaring January 29 a special non-working holiday in Santa Maria, Bulacan. 5829, declaring June 15 a special non-working holiday in General Santos City. 5831, declaring November 4 a special non-working holiday in the province of Quezon. 5832, declaring September 14 of every year a special non-working holiday in Santa Cruz, Occidental Mindoro. 5833, declaring November 22 of every year a special non-working holiday in Santa Maria, Bulacan. 5834, declaring June 18 of every year a special non-working holiday in Kiblawan, Davao del Sur. 5836, declaring June 24 of every year a special non-working holiday in Balayan, Batangas. 5837, declaring March 30 of every year a special non-working holiday in Puerto Princesa. 5838, declaring June 17 a special non-working holiday in Magsaysay, Davao del Sur. 5839, declaring May 28 of every year a special non-working holiday in Malalag, Davao del Sur. 5840, declaring June 22 of every year a special non-working holiday in Matanao, Davao del Sur. 5841, declaring September 6 of every year a special non-working holiday in Mendez Nunez, Cavite. 5842, declaring January 16 of every year a special non-working holiday in Navotas. 5843, declaring January 8 of every year a special non-working holiday in Pavia, province of Iloilo. 5844, declaring August 30 of every year special non-working holiday in the city of San Juan. 5845, declaring July 1 of every year special non-working holiday in the city of San Carlos, province of Negros Occidental. 5846, declaring September 21 of every year special non-working holiday in San Mateo, Rizal. 5847, declaring November 28 of every year special non-working holiday in Sarangani. 5848, declaring October 5 of every year special non-working holiday in Santa Cruz, Davao del Sur. 5849, declaring April 24 of every year special non-working holiday in Solok, Davao del Sur. 5850, declaring January 6 of every year special non-working holiday in Quezon City. 5851, declaring November 12 of every year regular non-working holiday in Valenzuela. 5852, declaring April 1 of every year special non-working holiday in Santa Cruz, Occidental, Mindoro. Local government.
Refer to the Committee on Local Government.
5936, declaring Narucan Falls in Oyao, Tupac del Norte, Nueva Vizcaya, an ecotourism site. The Vega Falls in Mabuhay, Prosperidad, Agusan del Sur, an ecotourism site. 5938, Lake Himbang in Talacogon, Agusan del Sur, an ecotourism site. 5939, Agusan Marsh, located in Talacogon, San Francisco, Rosario, Bunawan, Loreto, La Paz, and Veruela, Agusan del Sur, an ecotourism zone. 5954, declaring Torrijos White Beach, located in Municipality of Torrijos, Marinduque, a tourism destination. 5955, declaring the Municipality of Santa Cruz, Province of Marinduque, a tourism development area.
Refer to the Committees on Tourism, Environment, Natural Resources, Climate Change, and Finance.
5956, declaring the immediate environs of Our Lady of Candelaria Parish Church located in Silang, Cavite as a tourism destination. 5957, declaring the immediate environs of the St. Matias Parish Church in Tomauni, Isabela, a tourism destination. 5959, declaring the immediate environs of the National Shrine of Mary Help of Christians in Don Bosco, Parañaque City, tourism destination. 5960, declaring the immediate environs of the National Shrine of Padre Pio, located in Barangay San Pedro, City of Santo Tomas, Province of Batangas, a tourism destination. Tourism and
Refer to the Committees on Tourism, Finance.
5966, declaring the province of Agusan del Sur as the home of Golden Tara.
Refer to the Committees on Culture and the Arts, Tourism.
5967, declaring the Mindanao Civic Center Complex located in the municipality of Tubod, Lanao del Norte, a sports tourism destination.
Refer to the Committees on Tourism, Sports, Finance.
5958, declaring Puyot Strings National Park in Santa Victorias, Ilagan, Isabela, an ecotourism destination. 5961, recognizing the municipality of Baler, Aurora as the birthplace of Philippine surfing and declaring it an ecotourism destination. 5962, declaring the municipality of San Mariano and Palanan, Isabela as ecotourism zones to be jointly known as the San Mariano-Palanan Ecotourism Corridor. 5963, declaring the Polillo Group of Islands and the municipality of Mauban in Quezon a tourism zone. 5968, declaring Pilis Falls in Palili, Samal, Bataan, an ecotourism site. 5969, declaring Mount 387 or Mount Batongamat located in Caranglan, Nueva Ecija, an ecotourism destination. 5970, declaring the Mighty Cave Park located in Tagaloan, Lanao del Norte, an ecotourism destination. 5971, declaring Barangay Tala in Orani, Bataan, an ecotourism zone. 5972, declaring Lulugayan Falls in Calbiga, Samar, an ecotourism site. 5973, declaring the Islas de Gigantes in Carles, Iloilo, an ecotourism zone. 5974, declaring the Tambaliza Island in Concepcion, Iloilo, an ecotourism zone. And 5998, declaring the Malasi Tree Park and Wildlife Sanctuary in San Antonio, Cabagan, Isabela, an ecotourism zone.
Refer to the Committees on Tourism, Environment, Natural Resources, Climate Change, and Finance. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, at this juncture, may I put into the records the presence and welcome into this August chamber our guests from the Cordillera Autonomous Region, Madam President. From Benguet, Board Member Johans Amwasen, Board Member Alexander Fianza, Board Member Joel Tingbawen, Board Member Robert Canuto, Mayor Ruben Tindaan of Bugias, Mayor Armand Lauro of Tublay, Mayor Alfred Ducumos Jr. of Sablan, and Vice Governor Erickson Felipe. From Ifugao, Board Member Alberto Binlang, Mayor Gaspar Chilagan of Aguinaldo, Mayor Archie Liquindo of Asipulo, Mayor Casar Dumulag of Tinok, Mayor Joel Bungalion of Banawe, and for Mountain Province, Board Member Johnson Bantog II, Mayor Adolf Gangangan of Sadanga, Mayor of Tadyan, Mayor Marshall Lawilaw Jr. of Sabangan, Mayor Felicito Dula of Sagada, Mayor Constito Masweng of Tadyan, Mayor Jose Agagon of Natonin, and Mayor Clark Ngaya of Barlig. Guests of our distinguished colleague, Senator Bato de la Rosa. Welcome to the Senate.
We welcome to the Senate our officials of the Cordillera region, guests of Senator Bato, and guests of the Philippine Senate. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, at this juncture and with the permission of the body, we take this privileged speech up, and I ask that we recognize, Madam President, the distinguished gentleman from Isabela and Davao and the Republic of the Philippines, Senator Rafi Tulfo, to deliver his speech. So moved, Madam President.
Senator Rafi Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam President. Good afternoon, Madam President and my esteemed colleagues. Pasko na at panahon na naman ang sunod-sunod na handaan. Bilang mga Pilipino, may pera o wala, ginagawa natin ang paraan na makapaghanda tayo para sa ating mga pamilya. Gaano man kaliit ang budget ay nagagawa natin ito ng paraan na maging espesyal ang handaan. Kaya marami ang nagulat nang lumabas sa balita na pinagbabawal na ng BIFAR ang pagtinda sa merkado ng salmon at pampano. Mabenta ang salmon at pampano dahil bukod sa malasa na ito, abot kaya pa sa karaniwang mamimili. Kaya naman, nangamba ang mga malilit at kawawang mga tindera na umaasa sana sa pagkakitaan nila sa pagtinda ng mga isdang ito. Ilang taon na nilang pinagkukunan ng kanilang kabuhayan itong mga isda na ito. Tapos, ngayong kalagitnaan ng holiday season, biglang ipinagbawal. Binigyan lang sila hanggang December 3 para ibenta ang mga ito at pagdating ng December 4, ito raw ay kukumpiskahin na. At siyempre, nabigla rin ang mga mamimili na nais makapaghain ng mga pagkain ito sa Pasko. Sinigang na ulo ng salmon, salmon belly, salmon teriyaki, fried pampano, paksyong pampano, iniyaw na pampano, hindi pa ba kayo nagugutom dyan? Pasensya na, pero ang mga mayayaman na lang na may perang makakain sa hotel at restaurant ang pwede na makakain ng mga isdang ito. Or, kung gusto mo kumain ito, yung dilatan na lang ang pwede mong bilhin. This is anti-poor, Madam President. What is exactly the basis of BIFAR's actions? According to BIFAR, the sale and importation of pampano and pink salmon in wet markets is prohibited in Fisheries Administrative Order 195, which was issued in 1999. What exactly is FAO 195? According to FAO 195, the importation of fish and fishery products shall be allowed only when certified as necessary by the Secretary in order to achieve food security, taking into consideration public welfare and safety in consultation with the National Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Management Council. Pero may exception po na nilagay ang BIFAR sa FAO na 195. The importation of fresh chilled frozen fish and fishery products for canning and processing purposes, including importation, undertaken by institutional buyers does not require such certification. Ibig sabihin, pwede sa mga hotel at restaurant. Kaya yung mga gustong kumain ng pampano at pink salmon, sorry na lang, sabi ng BIFAR, pumunta kayo ng restaurant o hotel para makakain kayo ng masarap na isda na ito. At dahil dito sa mga nakasaad sa FAO 195, anong ginawa ng BIFAR? They went to markets informing small fish vendors that they can no longer sell until December 3 to sell their stocks, ito mga pampano at salmon. Excuse me. May tatlong problema po ako dito sa ginawa ng BIFAR at sa FAO 195. Una, ang FAO 195 is about the importation of fish and fishery products. Why then in the implementation of the law and FAO 195, itong maliliit at pobreng mga tindera sa palengke ang pinag-initan at pinahirapan? The regulation and campaign should be done in ports and in coordination with the Bureau of Customs. Why are they making a show at wet markets with these fish vendors? Binili lamang ng mga ito ang mga isda, hindi silang importer. Pangalawa, ito po ang nakakapagtaka. According to this FAO 195, It is based on Republic Act 8550 or the Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998, particularly Section 61, Paragraph C and D. According to the Fisheries Code, fishery products may be imported only when the importation has been certified as necessary by the department in consultation with the FARMC, but as an exception, fish imports for canning processing purposes only may be allowed without the necessary certification. Something smells fishy here, Madam President. In the law, the exception from the need of a certification of the necessity to import the CNI only applies to canning processing purposes. Pero sa FAO 195, na isama na po ang institutional buyers like hotels and restaurants from being allowed to import without the need for the CNI. Ang tanong, sinong magaling na nagdagdag nito sa FAO 195? Ang mga mayayaman na restaurant at hotel nakalusot sa pag-import ng isda. Pero ang mga malilit na tindera sa palengke, hindi pwede. At bakit? This is a very clear violation of equal protection. Malinaw na discrimination po ito laban sa mga maliliit na tindera sa merkado. And more importantly, BIFAR went beyond the provision of the law. Pangatlo, bakit pampano at salmon ang biglang pinagtigil at pinabibenta? At hindi yung ibang mga imported na isda tulad ng cream dory? Ang daming ibang imported fish products sa market. Is something trying to boost the sale of other imported fish na di na maibenta? According to FAO 195, prior to the issuance of a certification on the necessity of the importation, there must be a consultation with the NFARMC to determine the following. A, the importation is necessary for food security. And B, there is serious injury or threat to domestic industry that produces like or directly competitive products. Apart from that, there should also be an inquiry with the appropriate local government unit on the supply and demand situation for fishery products as observed in the respective localities. Nangyari ba ang consultation na ito? Bakit bigla-bigla na lang ang pagpapatigil ng pagbebenta ng mga nasabing isda? Also, there's a need to review the composition of NFARMC. Ito po ang composition ng NFARMC. A, Undersecretary of Agriculture as Chairman. B, Undersecretary for Interior and Local Government. C, 5 members representing the fisher folk, fish workers. And D, members representing commercial fishing, aquaculture, and fish processing sector. E, 2 fishery experts from the academe. And F, 1 representative of NGOs involved in fisheries goal of the law. If they are the ones consulted regarding the importation of fish, why is there no representative from the fish market vendors and consumers? Fish vendors and consumers are affected by the issuance of these CNIs. Why are they not consulted? Kailangan po natin alamin saan nanggaling ang masangsang na amoy na ito na ginawa ng BIFAR. For one, FAO 195 is a 20-year-old issuance. Maybe it should be reviewed to be in tune with the needs of that industry. And I have no doubt that our dear President, Bongbong Marcos, who is focusing on fixing and cleaning the problematic system in the Department of Agriculture and its attached agencies, particularly BIFAR, will be on top of this. I'm sure he will have a balanced approach in protecting our local fisher folks, as well as our vendors and consumers with regards to importation of fish and products. And I am warning BIFAR to get its act together to implement the law as intended by the legislative. Bawal ang dagdag bawas sa mga rules and regulations ninyo. And if the problem is importation, fix the importation. Catch the smugglers. Huwag ito matendera sa mga palengke na naghahanap buhay lamang. I will not stand for people parading themselves as protectors of the poor when their act is actually out to benefit the few rich and business interests. Huwag po tayo ganyan. Hayaan nyo naman pong makakain na masarap din ang taong bayan. Maraming salamat po, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Tulfo. Madam President, at this juncture, may I move that we recognize Senator Francis Tolentino with the indulgence of our colleague, Senator Tulfo, to interpolate the good gentleman from Isabela, Davao, and Republic of the Philippines.
Senator Tolentino is recognized for interpellation.
Thank you, Madam President. With the permission of our good friend here, will he yield to some few questions because this is an issue also close to my heart, Madam President.
Yes, of course, Senator Francis Tolentino. Sir.
Alam niyo po, Madam President, tuwing budget hearing, isa lang po ang tinatanong ko sa Department of Agriculture, yung BIFAR. Had I known the contents of this privileged speech, which is very substantial and educational for me, I would have prolonged my questioning during that budget deliberation. Mr. President, would you agree that circulars coming from BIFAR are not only antiquated but issued in a very non-transparent manner? Wala po nakakaalam, Madam President.
Tama po kayo dyan, Madam President. Tama po si Senator Tolentino. Dito nga sabi ko kanina, masangsang ang amoy. Bigla na lang nila binago yung original na batas at pinasok nila. Dati kasi kaning lang allowed. Ngayon, allowed na yung mga restaurant, yung mga hotel. At dyan nagkaroon ng kaguluhan since then dahil pati yung mga supplier na nagsusupply sa mga restaurant at nagsusupply sa mga hotel, nagsusupply na sa mga palengke.
And would the good gentleman agree with me that this alleged importation, which is in question, is part of the 25,000 tons, metric tons of fish to be imported during the last quarter of this year because of a permit, an order, a fisheries order issued by BIFAR. Bahagi po ba ito nung inisyo na fisheries permit ng BIFAR, Madam President?
Madam President, the answer is no, hindi po kasama yan. May dagdag ko lamang din po, nakakapagtaka, nakafocus lang po sila sa pampano at saka sa salmon. Pero marami po mga imported fish. In fact, yung galunggong po ay ini-import na rin yan. Pero hindi po pinagbabawal yan na itinda sa mga palengke. Yung dory fish. At napakarami pa pong mga isda na imported na pwede itinda sa palengke. Pero itong dalawa, salmon at pampano, ay pinatigil nila. At dapat sagutin ng BIFAR bakit yung dalawa lamang at bakit sa pagkatagal-tagal ng panahon, 1999 pa yung kanilang memorandum order, ngayon lang namang nila pina-implement. Ano talaga ang tunay na dahilan?
Hindi ko kaya, Madam President, yung ginawa ng BIFAR ay timing for this Christmas season because apparently it jives with the poultry ban issued by the Department of Agriculture. Likewise, for poultry products coming from Japan, Hungary, and the United States, Madam President. So, nakakapagtaka bakit ngayong binan yung poultry, ito namang nabanggit nyo, kagaya ng pampano, Madam President, Your Honor, pinagbabawal din na makarating sa ating mga consumers. So, hindi kaya, I agree with you, Your Honor, discriminatory, hindi kaya pang gigipit na talaga ito doon sa ilan nating mga consumers ngayong Kapaskuhan, lalo na yung mahihirap?
I certainly agree with you, Senator Tolentino, Madam President. Tama, discrimination po ito, lalo sa mga mahirap nating kababayan na mas pipiliin bumili sa palengke ng isda dahil makamura sila, lulutuin nila pagdating sa bahay versus kapag ito po'y pumunta kinain nila sa restaurant, sa hotel, mapapamahal sila. And hindi naman lahat po ng mga kababayan natin can afford na pumunta sa restaurant o kumain sa hotel. So talagang discriminatory po ito, anti-poor po ito para sa akin, Madam President.
Alam niyo po, Madam President, Your Honor, a few years ago, when I had a land travel going to Ifugao, and coincidentally, Madam President, several of our guest mayors are here from Ifugao. To name a few, from Lagawe, from Lista, from Aguinaldo, at iba pong munisipyo ng Ifugao. Nandito po sa ating bulwagan ngayong hapon na ito. Alam nyo po, Madam President, I was surprised then. Pero ngayon, naunawaan ko na ng kaunti. I was surprised then when I was going on a steep corner going to Lagawi, Ifugao. Bigla po akong nakakita ng isang malaking gate. Welcome to the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. Sabi ko, bakit nagkaroon dito sa Ifugao ng magagalit sa akin yung mga mayor? But I realize now that there are more than 102 fish ponds in Ifugao. Marami sa Magat, Dam, at marami rin po silang mga rivers na nangangailangan ng pagtulong at pagsuporta ng Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. But with your speech, Mr. President, Madam President, Your Honor, I now realize na kahit may presence po sila sa isang malayong lugar, gagaya po ng Ifugao, ay kulang pa rin ang binibigay nilang tulong dahil kagaya po ng sinabi nyo, pinagkakait pa rin sa mga pamilihang bayan, the people, the consumers are being deprived of some fish varieties that are only available perhaps in their area, in Baguio City, in good restaurants and hotels in Baguio City. Do you think, Madam President, Your Honor, it's now about time that we overhaul BIFAR through an amendment of existing fisheries law in such a way that the consumers, the market vendors, the market goers should likewise be, as you mentioned, be consulted in every step of the way. Madam President, Your Honor.
I agree with you, Your Honor, Madam President. Kanina nga po sa programa ni Mr. Ted Filon, umaga, napanood ko po yung interview ni Mr. Ted Filon sa spokesperson ng BIFAR, and he asked the guy, bakit ngayon lang after 2 dekada na? Ang sagot po nung inutil na taga BIFAR, kasi nga raw po walang nag-implement. Kulang daw po sa implementor sila. At ngayon lang daw po sila nakapag-isip na ma-implement na yung batas na 1999 pa na ipagbawal na itong pampano at itong salmon. Yun po yung binigay na rason. At hindi po katanggap-tanggap yung rason na binigay niya. So ibig sabihin, napaka-inutil po sila. Tama po kayo, Your Honor, Senator Tolentino, pagsisibakin niya siguro yung mga tao dyan sa BIFAR, marami sa kanila siguro, sa sobrang katamaran, baka may kalyo ng mga puwit nila sa kaupo. At baka yung mga ilong nila na barabarahan na ng hangin ng air condition sa kanilang kwarto. At siguro nagsilakihan ng kanilang mga tiyan dahil sa kanilang katamaran. At siguro baka nagkagasgas-gasgas na yung kanilang ilong sa kulangot nila.
Madam President, with the permission of the good sponsor, perhaps some wordings can be edited by the Senate Secretary, with the permission, of course, of the sponsor, the one, Senator Tulfo, to jibe with our parliamentary language here. But, Madam President, ito po, nagtitinginan din sa akin itong mga mayor ng Ifugao. Tama po na ang BIFAR ay baka nakatutok lang doon sa mga high value and high priced fish varieties. Yung pong sa Ifugao, siguro mga tilapia, karpa, na hindi na nabibigyan ng masyadong pansin ng Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, Madam President, Your Honor. So, do you think, Madam President, Your Honor, it's not just the overhauling of the entire BIFAR system, but even our customs system, our nutritional system likewise. Kasi po, Madam President, ngayon po yung season na sinasabi ng BIFAR na close season. The close season starts November 1 to January of next year. So, paano ho nangyari na kung kailan kailangan ng isda, kung kailan nag-i-import, ay pinagbabawal naman yung pagtitinda sa palengke. So, would the gentleman agree with me that an entire overhaul of this processing should be undertaken right away, Madam President.
I agree with you totally, Senator Tolentino, pero para sa akin, in my humble opinion, baka namamasko lang po itong mga taga-PIFAR sa mga supplier, ang mga importer nito mga salmon at pampano. When I say namamasgo, alam niyo na po siguro ibig ko sabihin noon, nagpapakilala kung salitang kanto para sabihin na, hey, kami yung bagong upo rito, kailangan magmano kayo sa amin or else. Yan na nga po, hindi nagmano, pinanguhuli, pinagbawal. Later on siguro, ililift nila yan kapag nagmano na yung mga supplier. Hopefully, sana hindi ganun mangyari.
And perhaps to advance further the research of this representation, Madam President, perhaps the gentleman from Isabela can also provide us with some data as to what is happening right now in the Zamboanga Peninsula. Kasi nandun po yung canning industry natin. Minsan po yung mga tamban, pinagbabawal po nila yung mga mangingisda na magpalaot para hindi naman makapanghuli ng tamban para gawing sardinas. Ito naman po yung talagang sobra na dahil ito na po yung pagkain ng ating mga kababayan. Ito po yung pinamimigay during disasters, to be given at the evacuation center. So, meron din pong policy ganyan ng BIFAR. Pinagsasabay, very discriminatory, very random, and as if it is not part of an overall fisheries policy, Madam President.
Tama ko kayo dyan, Your Honor. Very clear dito na hindi nagtatrabaho itong mga taga-BIFAR kasi kung talaga nagtatrabaho sila, maayos yung kanilang trabaho, 1999 pa pala, bawal itong itinda itong salmon at pampano, ngayon lang nila in-implement. They know better. Kaya siguro ngayon lang in-implement, meron silang dahilan, malalim na dahilan, masangsang na dahilan, at sila lang po nakakaalam kung ano yun. Yung dahilan yun. So, tama po kayo. I agree with you. It's about time siguro magkaroon ng overhaul dyan sa BIFAR. Para yung mga matatagal na dyan, wala naman talagang ginagawa, kundi tamad, kailangan matanggal na, mapalitan na. It's about time.
I congratulate, Madam President, the Senator Tulfo for having made this research and taking the cudgels for the plight of our fisher folk. Indeed, this is very timely. He made this research well, and we look forward to further engagement when BIFAR or even the DA family is here with us in this plenary or any investigative body of the Senate, Madam President. Alam niyo po, one last item, Madam President, talagang nakakalungkot po yung ganyan. I was able to taste 3 weeks ago an item given to me by a friend coming from General Santos City. Akala ko po kung ano yon, ang tawag po nila, Wagyu of the Seas. Sabi ko, bakit nagkaroon ng Wagyu of the Seas? Ang ganda po ng packaging, ito po ay tuna. Yung pag-slice ng tuna, pagtanggal ng balat, pagtanggal po ng kaliskis, nakapak, para pong Wagyu talaga. And the taste, when cooked properly, it's like beef. So what I'm saying, Madam President, Your Honor, is that we have enough marine resources to really provide for our countrymen. Hindi lang po sa mga palengke, hindi lang po sa mga restaurants. We have enough. We have abundant marine resources. Kaya bakit po siguro nagkukulang? Baka mali itong patakaran ng BIFAR. And I agree with Senator Tulfo that something has to be done. Something has to be done. Hindi lang po band-aid patch-up solutions, an entire overhaul of BIFAR, an entire overhaul of our fisheries policies should be done to help not just our fisher folks going into the oceans, but even the littoral fisher folks. Ito po mga nasa likuran ko ngayon. Ito po mga natiga Ifugao na meron din pong mga palaisdaan sa kanilang lalawigan, bagamat po ito ay nasa malayo at mataas na bundok. With that, Madam President, I'd like to thank Senator Tulfo for having done a very good research. We look forward again to further engagement as we cleanse, as we remove the scales, as we make BIFAR more responsive to our countrymen and our fisher folks. Maraming salamat po, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Tolentino. We would like to associate ourselves, of course, with the privileged speech of the good senator from Davao and Isabela. And an old law of 1999, there is no reason why it is not being implemented for lack of personnel or for whatever reason. So we join you in your frustration. But allow me, with all due respect, that there are certain words that the Secretariat had informed me will be not reflected or will be stricken off the record, referring, of course, to Section 93 of the Rules of the Senate. I don't have to read it here, just so that the good senator from Isabela and Davao knows. I was informed that certain words will not be reflected as such in our journal. But I join you in your frustration. We are with you in your advocacy to straighten out the agencies of government in the implementation of laws.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. And we recognize Senator Cynthia Villar.
I just want to manifest if I could have a copy of your privilege speech so that can form a basis of calling for a hearing on BIFAR. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Cynthia, Senator Cynthia
That
Villar.
is
Thank you.
the intention of this representation. Mr. President, if I may, Madam President, just one point that I'd like to raise. First of all, we commend our colleague, Senator Rafi Tulfo, for bringing this up and taking the cudgels of sa Tagalog, paggising dito sa mga natutulog na ahensya ng pamahalaan dahil nakakalungkot nga po na ang tagal-tagal na nitong batas na ito hindi ma-implement, and we are here to help them in any way we can, and that is the reason why during budget deliberation we keep on asking, we keep on reminding them on as to how we can help these departments. If I may, Your Honor, distinguished colleague, if I may just raise just one question, Madam President, with the indulgence of our distinguished colleague. There are two schools of thought when it comes to the product ng salmon at yung isa pampano na binanggit po ninyo, Madam President. And sa isang school of thought, sinasabi nila, wag na lang tayong mag-import dahil every time we import, tinatamaan ang lokal na industriya natin. Yung mga fisher folks natin, tinatamaan. Total, hindi naman kailangang kumain ng salmon at pampano, mas masarap nga ang tilapia at bangus natin, etc. Now, on the other hand, meron namang school of thought na bakit hindi tayo i-import kung mas mapapamura nito ang ating presyo ng isda, and at the same time, ang ating mga kababayang mahirap be given a chance na matikman itong salmon at pampano. So these two schools of thought, Madam President, is what I wanted to raise and ask the distinguished gentleman, our good friend, Senator Tulfo, ano ho yung kanyang pananaw dito, and what we should do right now, considering na ito nga po, itong importation ng salmon at pampano ay narito sa ating harapan. On the other hand, talagang tinatamaan yung ating local fisher folks, but at the same time, on the other hand, dun sa kabilang side, binibigyan ng pagkakataon yung ating mga kababayan na matikman itong salmon at pampano sa mas mababang presyo. So I just wanted to get the inputs, Madam President, of our distinguished colleague.
Thank you, Majo. At Madam President, tama po kayo, I do agree with you 100% na dapat yung mga masasarap na pagkain, hindi lamang dapat mga mayayaman na makakatikim niyan. Dapat lahat ng Pilipino, mayaman man o mahirap. Okay, yun po yung stand ko talaga. Now, dun sa yung pong katanungan ko, ano pong pwedeng gawin ng ating pamahalaan tungkol dito sa importation nitong salmon at pampano, importation should be regulated but with consultation and strict implementation. So lahat po dapat na stakeholders ay makonsulta, mga fisher folks, supplier, hotels, restaurant, canning industry, lahat yan mag-usap-usap and then come up with a policy na win-win solution para sa lahat.
Salamat po, Madam President. I fully support the privileged speech of our distinguished colleague. And Senator Grace po would like to also ask some questions. But before that, Madam President, may I just put on record that we have with us in the gallery the Congress man from the 5th District of Cavite, Congressman Roy Loyola. We welcome the presence of our dear colleague, our friend, Congressman Loyola.
We recognize and we welcome a good friend of the Senate, Congressman Roy Loyola.
Move for the previous question, Madam President, to recognize Senator Grace Poe to
Senator
interpolate
Grace Poe
Senator
is
Tulfo.
recognized.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, also, I echo the sentiments of our colleagues to thank the gentleman from Isabela and Davao for raising this very timely issue. I would like to ask our colleague, is there a reason why in 1999, the Fisheries Administrative Order number 195 was issued? What was the reason behind it, just to be clear?
Okay. According to this FAO 195, was based on Republic Act 8550 or the Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998. At yung isa sa mga purpose niyan is para yung pong mga local fisher folks natin mabigyan ng pagkakataon na priority, maintindihan nila yung kanilang mga produkto versus sa mga imported na mga isda. And also they said for safety reasons, health reasons, kailangan din dumaan sa isang checking para masiguro na yung pong mga pagkain na yon ay karapat-dapat na makonsume ng bawat Pilipino.
Mr. President, yung dalawang isda na nabanggit, salmon at saka pampano, alam ko meron tayong salmon dito, pero hindi talaga tayo, hindi ganon karami ang salmon, di ba, dito, ikumpara sa ibang mga klaseng isda.
Ang pinagbabawal nila is pink salmon. Yung salmon natin dito na hindi imported, hindi naman bawal po yon. Pero yung pinagbabawal yung pink salmon na imported.
So, sinasabi nila safety reasons dahil kung i-import ito, baka dahil nga frozen ito i-import, yung sinasabi nga nung ating colleague na si Senator Nancy, kung frozen ito, tapos pupunta sa palengke, madi-defrost, baka doon kapitan ng kung anong mga bacteria, ganun po ba?
Kailangan daw kasi makakuha ng certification ang lahat ng mga imported na isda para ma-check daw muna nila to make sure na safe for human consumption. Sabi nila, nang sa gayon, lahat tayo maproteksyonan ang ating kalusugan. Yun po yung binibigyan ng rason.
So siguro, Mr. President, imbis na ipagbawal nila, edi sabihin nila dapat dumaan sa check. Di ba parang napaka-drastic naman no na bawal na lang, may proseso, alam mo, pati galunggong na talagang ay nasa hapagkainan ng ating mga kababayan, nag-i-import din tayo nun.
That is correct, Your Honor. That
So
is correct.
kung yun po yung dahilan, edi dapat ang proseso ang palitan. Kasi actually, yung mga kasama ko sa bahay, alam nila, paborito din namin itong salmon. Medyo nataranta sila na, ay bawal na pala. Pero, ang sinasabi ba nitong order na ito, bawal lang ito sa mga wet market, pero ang groceries pwede?
Yes, pwede sa mga groceries, institutional. Ibig sabihin groceries pwede sa hotel, pwede sa restaurant, pero sa mga wet market na puntahan po ng mga pobre nating kababayan, bawal. So
Yun-
pag mayaman, pwede makakain ng salmon at pampano. Pag mahirap, sorry ka na lang muna.
Yun po ang magandang punto ninyo at ng ating kasama mula sa majority leader mula sa Bulacan. Na ganun ba pag wet market na ang mga pumupunta doon ay ang mga kababayan natin na hindi masyadong nakakaangat sa buhay, sila hindi pwede. Pero yung mga pumupunta sa mga high-end na grocery stores o mga wholesale membership clubs, pwede makabili.
Okay, I stand corrected. Sabi po ng isang kasama ko sa Legis, bawal din daw po sa grocery stores. Restaurant lang daw po at saka hotel. Pinapayagan.
Medyo mabigat po yan.
So ang target lang kasi talaga dito, Your Honor, ay yung importation, hindi yung sale. So dapat kung importation ang problema nila, dapat sa customs pa lamang doon na sila umaksyon at hinarang na nila yung pagpasok ng mga isda na sa tingin nila bawal dahil merong FAO tungkol dyan.
Yun nga po yung punto natin. Marami tayong mga ini-import din na isda na galing sa ibang bansa. Merong cream dory, meron nga yung nabanggit ko, galunggong. O de dapat, pati yon kung gagamitin natin itong parang hindi pinag-isipan na department order na ito. 'Di ba? Parang di ayusin yung proseso ng importation, bakit ninyo ipagbabawal? At saka parang kailangan pumunta ka sa restaurant para kainin yon
Or hotel.
or sa hotel. O di lalo nang mas naging discriminating.
Correct. At alam naman po nila na yung mga mahirap, hindi po kayang pumunta sa hotel, hindi po kayang pumunta sa restaurant, kumain. So mas piniprefer nila magluto sa bahay. So discriminatory nga talaga ito, Your Honor.
So Mr. President, maaari po kayang kausapin ang Department of Agriculture, yung BFAR, na ayusin ang department order na to at i-amend or i-revise o i-repeal. Pwede yan, di ba? Hindi naman yan batas na kailangan dumaan sa atin, di ba?
Pwede yan, Your Honor. Yung nga sabi kanina, yung importation yan should be regulated at dapat mag-usap-usap po yung lahat ng stakeholders kung ano talaga makabubuti para sa mga consumer. When I say para sa mga consumer, lahat ng consumer, hindi lamang sa mga mayaman, kasama na po dyan yung mga mahirap nating consumer para win-win solution para sa lahat.
Well, thank you for championing it, Mr. President. We appreciate that, and I think we are calling the attention now of the BFAR officials to please look at your department order and revise it according to the proper way of the importation of salmon, pampano, and other seafood products. Kasi hindi pwedeng yun lang sa dalawang yon, pero yung iba, nag-i-import kayo, pinapayagan nyo sa wet market. So, Mr. President, I am totally against and aghast by this department order, which we just realized now, which has been in existence since 1999. And I hope that there will be a moratorium first on the implementation while they are drafting a correction or an amendment to this department order. Moratorium lang muna, lalo na magpapasko. Maraming salamat po.
I agree. Maraming salamat, Your Honor. Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Gray, Senator Tulfo. Madam President, I move that we refer the privileged speech and all the... sorry, Madam President. The minority leader, Madam President, the minority leader, Senator Coco Pimentel, would like to interpolate our distinguished colleague, Senator Tulfo. I move that he be recognized, Madam President.
Senator Coco Pimentel is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Una sa lahat, let me congratulate our colleague, our hard-hitting colleague, who does not mince words, Madam President. No? If he feels something that he's passionate about, he needs to speak out against, talagang magsasalita po siya. No? Kasi itong topic po ni Senator Tulfo, pinapanood ko nga rin sa balita at gusto ko nga maintindihan at bakit nga ganun. Nagulat din po ako na bawal si salmon at saka si pampano. Very specific, dalawang klaseng isda. Ang bawal ibenta ngayon sa wet markets, siguro pati na rin sa mga talipapa, ba yung tawag dun sa talipapa, mga talipapa, and then as expanded ngayon, bawal na rin sa supermarket. That is groceries and supermarkets as per our information from the good senator. So I'd like to first of all congratulate Senator Tulfo for bringing this matter before this chamber para napilitan po tayong mag-focus doon. At least nag-research po kami. Sabay nang nagsi-speech kayo, kami po yung napa-research po sa topic talaga para po masubukan natin maintindihan. At ang masamang balita, hindi pa rin hindi ko pa rin po naintindihan. Bakit magbabawalan ang dalawang isda, allegedly imported sila, at dun lamang sa mga lugar na mabibenta ito na accessible sa may hirap nating kababayan, pero sa mga accessible, mga 5-star na mga lugar, pwede.
Pwede.
Yun po, I mean, kaya nga kahit na gusto na ni Majority Leader i-repair yung speech mo, sabi ko, teka muna, mag-ano pa tayo, elaborate natin para, kasi yung exchanges natin dito, at least mako-consider din po dun sa committee hearing. Binisita ko po yung FAO 195 dated 1999. Ito pong pagkaintindi ko sa kanya, nag-establish siya ng permit system. Parang ganun. Basta imported fish or aquaculture products siguro, freshman, frozen, or chilled, may permit system.
Right.
Okay, so yun po yung 1999 in-establish natin noon sa FAO 195. Ngayon, biglang gagamitin ito to say na December 3, ubusin nyo na yung supply ninyo ng salmon at saka ng pampano sa mga wet markets and supermarkets. So ang impression ko, although hindi to sinasabi kasi, ang aligasyon ba ng BIFAR ay smuggled po ba yung mga isdang nabibenta ngayon? Yun po ba? Kasi permit system, gagamitin mo. So ibig sabihin nun, aminado sila na ang nabibenta po ngayon ay hindi nakapasok dun sa permitting system na yon.
Tama ka dyan, Your Honor. Sinisingle out nila yung dalawang isda na nabanggit ko, thinking na hindi po dumaan sa proseso na hindi po kumuha ng certification. Dapat kasi yung mga imported fish, nasa certify muna yan, nakukuha ng permit. So this one, hindi raw nakuna ng import permit. So, ang nakakapagtaka lang dyan, Your Honor, dapat targetin nila yung Bureau of Customs. Hindi dapat sila pumunta sa mga palengke para isa-isahin at pahiyain at pagsabihan itong mga maliliit na tendera, Your Honor.
Opo, Ginang Pangulo, the mere fact na allowed si pampano at saka si salmon to be served in the high-end outlets, ibig sabihin nun, even given the permit system, meron sila mga permit na binigay to import pampano and salmon.
That is correct, Your Honor. Kasi parang lumilito yan, Your Honor, dalawang supplier siguro. May iba yung supplier para sa mga hotel at restaurant at iba yung supplier para sa mga wet market. So, maaari itong supplier para sa wet market, sinusupil nitong supplier sa hotel at restaurant dahil hindi sila nakapag-compete. Siguro hindi masyado sila nakapagbenta sa mga restaurant kasi bibili na sa palengke, yung mga tao, wala nang pupunta sa kanila. So, it's a matter of nagkakagulo yung dalawang supplier most likely nitong pampano at salmon.
Kaya po nga, kaya nga, and then ang bali ang lumalabas, ang assumption ng BIFAR, di ba? Ina-assume na lang ng BIFAR na kung diyan ka nabibenta, sa low end, wala kang permit. Sa high end, may permit ka. Mukhang maling implementation po ito ng FAO 195. Habulin mo yung mga nagpapapasok ng mga isdang imported nang walang permit. Yun po yun. So yung consumer na hindi naman niya concerned na yung permit, andyan na sa marketplace eh. The assumption is legally ito pumasok. So it's nasa trabaho nga ng BIFAR, sabi nga ng ating good sponsor, tumayo na sila sa upuan nila kasi anong nahanap ba ito sa di ba? Tayo po yung unparliamentary language na naman. So kailangan siguro lumabas nga po ng opisina to find out the truth, the facts on the ground, kasi hindi yata pwedeng i-shortcut na lang po na if the system appears to be failing, di ba? Make sure that the system works. Hindi mo pwedeng i-shortcut by assumption na lahat ng mahanap sa low end ay smuggled, lahat ng high end ay hindi smuggled.
Okay, Your Honor, ito pong may dagdag ko. Ito yung nakakainit ng ulo. Kasi nga po, yung pong mga isda na pampano at pink salmon, na itinitinda sa mga high-end tulad ng hotel at restaurant, hindi na po pala kailangan ng permit. Yun po ang isiningit nila. Doon po nagkaroon ng problema. Yun po yung nakakapagtaas kilay, if you will, na bakit pag high-end, hindi na kailangan ng permit. Pag doon sa mga pangmahirap, wet market, kailangan ng permit. Parang panggigipit po ito sa mga maliit nating kababayan.
Well, kung tutuusin, baka nga may mas malalim na laro rito, Mr. President.
Pera, Your Honor?
Baka nga, baka labanan na ito ng importer siguro, Mr. President. Kasi tapos collateral damage na lang po yung mga mamimili natin sa wet market. Kasi kung tutuusin, punta tayo sa wet market. Kahit ilagay mo si salmon dyan, imported, andyan si pampano, imported, may fish na hindi imported, may fish din na ibang imported, pero lower end siya compared sa pampano at saka sa salmon. Actually, market forces na yun eh. Yung bibili ng, sabi, ano ba yung nasa sa loob ng budget ko eh. Doon siya, yun ang pipiliin niya. Kahit available si pampano, pero kung beyond the budget na po nung mamimili yun, bibili siya ng ibang isda na mas pasok sa budget niya, whether locally produced man or imported. Pero sa budget na po yun. So, parang sa market forces pa lang, makikita po natin na hindi po dihado yung local fishing industry pagdating po sa wet markets eh. Kasi sa budget na po nung mamimili yung magdidikta anong bibilhin niya eh.
That is correct,
Okay.
Your
The
Honor.
mere fact na pipilitin ng BFAR na ganito yung interpretation ng FAO 195, binigyan ng drastic deadline, must be a deeper story, Mr. President. Tapos never ko rin narinig sa mga balita na health ang concern nila eh. Hindi ko naman narinig yun na kalusugan ng mamimili binabantayan namin, kaya binaban namin yung dalawang isda. Wala akong narinig na gano'n eh. Actually, wala akong narinig na dahilan eh. Sinabi lang yung FAO 195-1999. So, Mr. President, mabuti nga na lumabas na ito at siguro sa hearing, pwede na natin talagang i-detalye, tanungin natin ang BFAR kung ano talagang dahilan nito. Tsaka, year 2022 na po ngayon, 1999 is 23 years ago. Maybe I don't know if you agree with me, the world has changed. I mean, the facts on the ground have changed. I mean, it's time to review an ancient document like FAO 195.
To be in
diba?
tune with the time, Your Honor.
Yes, so kasi yun na nga po, magiging very questionable po talaga kung ganito po ang interpretation. Tapos, Mr. President, ako po yung nagtiyaga talaga nung hearing ng Department of Agriculture sa subcommittee sa budget eh. Napakalawak talaga ng Department of Agriculture, kaya tuloy kahit yung BFAR, dapat binibigyan ng oras, out of fatigue, pagod ka na, o naka 8 hours na kayo sa dami ng topic sa agriculture, kaya tuloy medyo hindi natin natatanong ng extensively o ng karapat-dapat na katanungan ang BFAR. Siguro, one possible overhauling of the system, pinag-usapan namin ni Senator Risa ito, our Deputy Minority Leader, siguro yung BFAR, ihiwalay na natin sa DA para makakonsentrate din tayo sa DFAR. Maybe the proposal of Senator Ontiveros, if I will be allowed to announce it, is the Department of Oceans, Fisheries, and Aquatic Resources. Okay, so para nakafocus din po tayo doon sa kanila. Pagdating ng budget hearing, focus na tayo sa kanila. Pati lahat ng mga FAO nila, other administrative orders nila, mahihimay na po natin kasi solely dedicated na po yan sa ating fisheries and aquatic resources. So
Tama
maybe
kayo dyan,
this
Your
is one idea which we can also pursue. At i-discuss na lang po siguro yun sa committee hearing on this privilege speech.
Tama kayo, Your Honor. I totally agree.
Sige po. So salamat po sa panahon na binigay sa akin. So nung umpisa hindi ko naintindihan, ako yung magtatapos na hindi ko pa rin makuha. Hindi ko pa rin makuha yung hindi ko pa rin makuha yung logic bakit gano'n ang interpretation sa FAO 195, violation of equal protection of the laws ang pag-implement, ang pag-execute, 'di ba? Parang
In fact,
parang dalawa ang mundo na sa Pilipinas, iba ang pagtrato sa kaliwa, ibang pagtrato sa kanan, which is a violation of the equal protection of the laws.
Tama ka dyan, Your Honor. Doon sa interview po kay Mr. Ted Pailon kaninang umaga, nabanggit doon na question po mismo ang ombudsman, yung pong ginawa nitong patakaran ng BIFAD na pagbabawal na itong mga pampano at salmon after 23 years. Pero nanindigan po itong BIFAR at kukonsulta daw sila sa kanilang mga abogado at ipapatuloy pa nila itutuloy nila itong bago nilang polisiya na hulihin, kumpiskahin ang mga pampano at mga pink salmon na makikita sa wet market starting December 3.
Dahil sige po, sa committee hearing siguro, tanongin na natin sila diretsahan at
Yes.
bakit? Anong legal basis nga nung paghuhuli o pag-confiscate? That means it has something to do with the permitting system under FAO 195. Oo, but you do that to the who needs the permit? It is the importer. Not the seller and not the consumer.
Tama ka
Yan
din,
yun
Your
eh.
Honor.
And then doon po sila sa level na yun nakatingin. Bakit hindi nila kaya yung higher level? At the level of the importer, dito sila at the level of the consumers and the retail, the vendor. Oh, so, yun pong mga sigurong paghandaan nila mga tanong. At, di ba? Kasi it's a permit system eh. So, dito kayo sa sistema ninyo, those who apply before you, those who should apply before you. Yun po ang inyong dapat pinupukpok.
Yun nga, Your Honor. Para doon sa mga high-end nga, sabi kanina, sa mga restaurants, sa mga hotel, hindi na kailangan ng permit. Hindi na kailangan ng permit makukuha sa BIFAR para makapag-import nito mga isda na ito at itinda doon. Pero kung ikaw ay may balak na magtinda ng pampano at saka ng pink salmon sa wet market, kailangan mo dumaan sa proseso which is kumuha kayo ng permit. So discriminatory talaga ito, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. President. With that additional information, lalong masama. Lalong masama ang nangyayari. So, I will end by once again congratulating our colleague. Thank you for bringing this up and continue to bring to the attention of this body mga ganito pong mga issues po na apektado po talaga yung ating mga kababayan sa day-to-day living po ito day-to-day matters. So, thank you for this and thank you for the time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Majority Leader. Mr. President, last but not the least is our Senate President Pro Tempore, Senator Lauren Legarda. I move that she be recognized.
Our Senate President Pro Tempore, Senator Lauren Legarda, is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. With the distinguished sponsor, the distinguished gentleman from Isabela, Davao, who is always passionate about causes and serving our people, yield to a few clarificatory questions to educate me on this issue, Mr. President.
Yes, to the most pretty and beautiful senator. Why not?
Mr. President, Mr. President, I associate myself with the good senator on many things. First, why should an admin order of more than 2 decades be implemented only now? Second, we must know the phytosanitary reasons why there is a ban on certain kinds of food, especially these kinds of fish. Third, how will it affect the poorest of the poor or those whose livelihood is on a daily income in the wet markets? And fourth, is there any other reason that we do not know for the delayed implementation of this admin order? Yun po ang aking mga katanungan. Kasi po, nung ako po'y bagong senador, nung 1998, 1 year after, meron pong admin order na sinasakupan po, yung FAO na sinasabi niyong 195, hawak ko po ngayon. Ito po ay isang hard copy. Salamat, DepSec Belen, mabilis mag-research. Binigay po sa akin itong FAO. So, dinebate na siguro ito nung aking unang termino. Mr. President, I want to refresh my memory now. Now, the first question, 1999, FAO 195, signed by no less than a former Senate President who was the Secretary of Agriculture, Ed Angara. He signed the FAO order. Siguro naman, si Ginoong Angara ay may dahilan kung bakit niya nung panahong yun ay pinagbawal ang mga ito. So gusto ko pong maintindihan, nung 1999, si Secretary Angara po, na naging Senate President ng Senado, ang siyang gumawa po ng order na ito. Pinirmahan din po ito ni Director Malcolm Sarmiento. I don't know where he is now, recommended. So it's a 8-page administrative order of the Department of Agriculture. So what bothers me is it only now that this FAO of 1999 is being implemented, or has every BFAR head and every DA head since 1999 been implementing this, but it's only now that we actually recognize it or are cognizant of this? Yun po ang aking katanungan. Ito ba po ang unang beses na ito'y pinapatupad? Or pagkatapos po ng panahon ni Ginoong Angara, nung naging senador na po siya, noong 2001, I believe, yung susunod po na DA Secretary ay pinatupad rin po ba ito?
Thank you,
Thank
Your
you,
Honor.
Mr. President. If the good gentleman may clarify.
Yeah, doon po sa interview kanina sa TV, napanood ko kay Mr. Ted Filon, sa spokesperson ng BFAR, ang binigay niyang reason ay kulang daw sila sa implementation. Inamin nila na hindi na-implement. Kulang sila sa implementation at ngayon nakita nila yung problema at binibigyan ng solusyon at ipapa-implement nila yung batas na hindi nila na-implement before. So
Gusto ko
parang
po
very
i-clarify.
vague yung binigay po na rason.
Okay. So dapat po natin saliksikin, alamin, kung mula po nung September 20, 1999, nung linagdaan ni Secretary Edgardo Angara itong FAO 195 sa Rules and Regulations concerning importation of fresh, chilled, frozen fish and fishery and aquatic products, ay ito ba'y pinatupad na or first time ba ito napansin? At ano kaya ang nagtulak sa mga taga-DA ngayon or BFAR na pansinin ito? Now, balik po sa aking unang katanungan. Ano ba ho ang magiging masamang epekto sa mga tao kung ito po'y ipatupad? May dahilan siguro po kung bakit ang DA noong 1999 ay naglabas ng FAO memo na ito. At saka hindi po ito batas sa aking kaalaman, ito po'y isang admin order ng ahensya. Or was this enacted into law? I'm not certain. I don't think this is a law. This is an administrative order of the DA in 1999.
Okay, Madam President, this is a reaction to a law back in 1998, and that's why they came up with this Administrative Order 195. And yung katanungan niyo po kung na-implement ba ito since the issuance of this FAO 195, wala hong record na nagsasabing na-implemento na meron ng mga hinuhuli, nagtitinda sa palengke o sa Bureau of Customs, etc. Wala po. Ang meron lamang tayong record ngayon is sila ngayon ang nagpapa-implement. This day only, sila po yung nag-issue ng mga statements saying na bawal na ang pampano at yung salmon sa mga wet market.
Salamat po. Siguro, kailangan natin alamin sa BFAR ngayon, it's an agency under the DA, kung totoong mula nung inisyu nung September 20, 1999, never pa po na ipatupad itong FAO na ito. At ngayon lang, Nobyembre ng 2022, nakita nila sa kanilang email, soft copy, na merong FAO order. Ay, kailangan implement. 22 years later, better late than never.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Diba?
Isa pa rin siguro, Your Honor, sa akin observation, kasi po yung pink salmon, yan po ata yung ginagamit para sa sushi na mabibili po sa mga hotel at sa mga restaurant. At ngayon, yung mga kababayan natin na gusto makatikim ng sushi, mura, bibili po sila sa wet market at gagawin nilang sushi. So maari, nagkakaproblema siguro yung mga hotel din, restaurant, nagsasabi na imbis na bumili pa sa amin sila, ayan na, bumibili na sa palengke at nakakakain na ng salmon, which is, dapat hindi lang punahin yun, dapat magkaroon ng pagkakataon, makakain din ng sushi ang mga mahirap na kababayan, hindi lang dapat yung mga mayaman na kayang pumunta sa mga restaurant.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are referring to two kinds of fish. Pink
And
salmon
pampano. Pink salmon and pampano, Your Honor.
and pampano. Hindi ba ho ang pampano ay pink salmon or salmon sa Pilipino,
Hindi.
sa Tagalog?
Hindi
Iba
po,
pa ho.
Your Honor.
Ibang species po yun.
Iba po yun. Yung
Okay.
pampano, malasa po yun. In fact, favorite ko po yun. Favorite na mother
In
ko,
fact,
favorite na wife
kinakain
ko.
ko rin. Hindi ako
Yes.
sigurado lang sa mga salita kung isang pamilya lang
Magkaiba po.
magkaiba. Okay. Are these grown in the Philippines? May culture ng pampano, meron po. At saka ang pink salmon. Kasi hindi naman po lahat imported. Meron din pong mga available sa ating lawa, ilog, or kinoculture ba ho ito?
Ang aking pagkakaalam, ito po ay imported, itong pampano, Your Honor, hindi natin pina-farm ito dahil pinagbabawal to sa lahat ng wet market, lahat ng uri ng pampano. Hindi naman sinabi na imported lamang, wala rin sinabi na yung mga pampano na isda na dito po pinalaki na hindi bawal. So basta sinabi basta pampano and pink salmon, period, bawal na. So, kumbaga,
aking
across the board,
kaalaman,
bawal.
Yes, whether imported or local, farmed.
Walang sinabi po, basta bawal na po lahat ng pampano, lahat ng pink salmon na tinitinda sa market, kailangan by December 3, bawal na.
Because I was advised that there's a farm-grown pampano in Sarangani and in Pangasinan, as well as pink salmon. I am not certain about that. So this will affect importers of this fish species as well as locally farmed.
Okay,
Yes.
Your Honor, sorry. Ito nga po ang nakakapikon din, ano? Paano nila malaman na imported yung tinitinda sa palengke? Paano nila malaman na hindi po yung locally grown na pampano? Kasi ang sinasabi po ng BFAR pala, yung mga imported lamang ang pinagbabawal.
Imported lang.
Yes.
Pero
Now,
yung locally farmed, hindi po.
dapat hindi. Pero kaso ang sinasabi nila, imported lang pinagbabawal. Paano nila malaman kung imported o hindi? So far, ang sinasabi by December 3, bawal muna ang pagtitinda ng pampano. Yun po yung lumalabas sa balita na maging po yung mga vendor sa palengke nagtataka dahil nalalabuan sila doon sa order na yon. Wala masyadong malinaw na paliwanag kaya nang pumapalag po yung maliliit na vendor at tinatanong bakit, paano yung mga market vendor na umaasa lamang po sa pagtitinda ng pampano at pink salmon, whether yan ay imported o hindi. Dahil ang pagkasabi, bawal na imported. Kaya ang tanong nila, paano nila malaman? Ang tanong ng mga vendor, paano nila malaman kung imported o local yung titinda namin? Basta they said, bawal imported, period.
May I read, Mr. President, into the record, Section 2 of the FAO 195, dated 1999, importation of fresh, chilled, frozen fish and fishery and aquatic products. The importation of fresh, chilled, frozen fish and fishery aquatic products shall be allowed when certified as necessary by the Secretary in order to achieve food security, taking into consideration public welfare and safety, in consultation with the NFARMC. What is the NFARMC? I'm not sure if that still exists. Maybe that's before now. Provided that the importation of these for canning and processing purposes, including importation undertaken by institutional buyers, does not require such certification. Provided further that all importation satisfies the permit to import and sanitary and phytosanitary requirements as provided under Section 67 of RA 8550, hazard analysis and critical control point standards as provided for under this order. Mahaba pa po ito. So this is, Section 2 says that it is not banned. It is simply requiring a permit. And it has certain standards that should be met. If this is the FAO being referred to by BIFAR, I cannot see an outright ban, Mr. President.
Bawal po siya unless kung nakalista po sa CNI, Certification for Necessity to Import. Kung yun po ay naisama po doon sa CNI, then hindi po bawal. Pag hindi na isama, then bawal po. So, dito po, ang pino-point out po natin, yung importation should be regulated, not the sale. So, dapat po, sa importation pa lamang, tulad yan, yung Bureau of Customs dapat ma-involve na para masiguro na makita kung ano talaga yung mga in-import ng mga isda na kailangan ng CNI.
It also includes issuance of a permit to import and the transshipment ports. So, gusto ko po malaman, ang BIFAR ba ho ngayon ay nag-amenda ng bagong admin order or talagang en toto? Ibig sabihin, ito pong ating dokumento noong 1999 ang siyang pinapatupad po nila hanggang sa requirements po sa permit, yung basis po for Department of Agriculture certification of necessity to import, yung filing of application, yung duration of a permit, lahat ba ho ito ay ganun pa rin po, yung kanilang international health certificate from the country of origin. Lahat ba ho ito ay sinusunod pa ho nila hanggang ngayon or meron ba hong basihan yung pagbabawal sa pagbenta ng dalawang isdang ito sa wet markets, which could be the basis of this banning of the sale in the wet markets? Or it is just this order that's being followed?
Yun nga po, Your Honor, yung talagang mind-boggling na maging si minority leader, nagtataka, hindi niya maintindihan kung bakit after 23 years, ngayon na nila papa-implemento. Binasi nila po yung kanilang bagong polisiya na i-confiscate po ito mga imported na isda na pampano at pink salmon base doon sa FAO 195 na kanilang ipinasa noong 1999 pa.
The FAO 195 is an admin order within the Department of Agriculture. And let me just say that National Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Management Council, I believe it still exists. It's a policy-making body in Philippine fisheries. And what I understand is that the ban or the permitting is on the illegal importation of salmon. Is it possible that there is a disinformation or miscommunication on the interpretation of this FAO 195? Because as I read this FAO 195, assuming this is the basis, I wish we could ask the late Senator Edangara, who signed this 22-year-old FAO order. So, it is indeed mind-boggling, and we want to understand how it would affect our market vendors, the people. Ano pa ho ang dahilan? Dahil ba wala silang mga blast freezer, cold storage sa palengke? Hindi ba po safe na kumain ng salmon at pampano na pero matagal na ako makain ng pampano na galing wet market po eh. Yun binibili natin. So those are the things I want to understand. So and pangatlo, kukumbistikahin daw nila makikita nila. Mahirap na ngayong tao kukumbistikahin sa mahilap na market vendor ang kanilang binebenta, assuming the information is not brought to our 7,100 islands. Kung may nagbenta sa isang far-flung na palengke at hindi po alam na bawal na pala after December 3, just 3 days from now, kundi nakikinig sa YouTube mong may 25 million o kay Mr. Ted Filon, paano na yon? Diba? Kukumpiska. Anong gagawin sa mga kukumpiskahing isda? Tatapon? Or kakainin? Kung kakainin, paano yun? Kanino ibibigay? Di ba? Marami pong tanong. So, I wish the good gentleman, Mr. President, could educate me, enlighten me on this. The basis of all these reports, the basis of the privileged speech, is it a ban outright? is it a ban, of course, on illegal importation? Because, of course, anything illegal is banned for obvious reasons. Or are they still allowed to import? And why is it only market vendors? Is it because of phytosanitary reasons?
Okay. First of all, yung sinasabi nyo, Your Honor, pag hindi nakita, hindi bawal. Yung nakita lang, yun yung bawal. Meaning, pag nagtitinda doon sa far-flung areas, sa mga probinsya ng pampano at salmon, at hindi po nakita ng BIFAR, hindi lang kukumpiskahin yun. So, no reason for them to confiscate.
Ano ba ho talaga ang dahilan bakit pinapagbawal sa wet market? Is it harmful to our health? Masama ba ho sa ating kalusugan?
Para sa akin, wala pong dahilan na para pagbawal yun dahil masama sa kalusugan. I've been eating pampano for so many years.
Hindi, ano pong
My
dahilan
family-
ng BIFAR?
Ang sinasabi po ng BIFA is to implement nga lang daw po yung sa FAO 195 na dati sabi nila na sana noon pa nila implement pero kulang po siguro sila sa tao, sa manpower at hindi raw masyado nabigyan ng pansin. Ngayon lang po nila nakita na oops, all of a sudden meron palang ganitong FAO 195 na memorandum order kaya lang ma-implement na natin.
Hindi, hawak ko nga po ang 8 pages na FAO 195. Sinasabi po, kailangan ng packing and labeling requirements, kailangan po nakalagay ang country of origin, species ng fish, address ng supplier, nakalagay rin po yung storage and transport, nandyan po yung inspection requirements, merong microbiological analysis. Wala po akong nakikita na sinasabi na pinapagbawal po. So kung ito po ang kanilang basihan, in my brief perusal of this document, I do not see any ban on the selling of pampano and pink salmon in wet markets. I can share a copy of 195 with you, Mr. President, with a good gentleman. I do not see any outright ban. It should.
Pero Your Honor, yan po yung sinasabi nila ngayon eh. Yan yung pronouncement po galing from BIFAR. Kanina nga sabi ko, nakita ko sa interview na talagang sinabi ng BIFAR na December 3, hindi na pwede magtinda ng imported pampano at salmon. Maging po yung mga tendera sa palengke, tulad sa Nepa Q-Mart na kung saan doon po kami bumibili ng mga pampano at pink salmon, yung mga tindera nagsabi doon na bawal na ba December 3, hindi na kami pwede magtinda ng pampano, hindi na kami pwede magtinda ng pink salmon. Now, isa po sa mga dahilan na binibigay ngayon na lumalabas sa balita na pronouncement po ng BIFAR ay saturated na raw po ng market itong pampano sa mga wet market, itong pampano at salmon. Isa sa mga reason na binigyan nila very recently na lumalabas na ngayon sa news, kaya raw nila ipinapatigil na ito. Isa sa mga dahilan na napansin nila na ops, sobrang dami ng pampano, sobrang dami ng salmon, kaya patigil na muna natin to. Sobrang saturated na market nito mga isdang ito at di na makakapag-compete yung pong local na mga isda natin. Now, which is still wrong. Mali pa rin yung ganong kadahilanan at ginagamit lamang po siguro na dahilan yon at sila lang pong nakakalam ko na talagang tunay na dahilan ba't nila pinagbabawal yung pampano at salmon.
So wala po silang maliwanag na dahilan kung ito po ay magiging masama sa ating kalusugan, kaya po pinapagbawal ang pagbenta ng dalawang klaseng isda sa ating mga merkado po.
When certified as necessary, yun nga po, nasabi kanina, hindi po i-ban. Kaya kailangan kumuha ng CNI, yung pong gusto pong mag-import at magtinda ng pampano at salmon. Yun po yung nakalagay rito po sa FAO 195. And at the same time, yun na po ang ginagamit din dahilan ng ating mga taga-BIFAR.
Okay. Perhaps all of these questions can be further clarified if we can conduct a hearing. In the meantime, I fear for our market vendors. Paano naman po kung hindi nila alam yung impormasyon at yun po ang kanilang may mga suki, di ba ho? Sila ay nagabenta niyan, yun ang mabili sa kanila, tapos kumpiska. Kaya siguro, kikinig ang BIFAR, pag-aralan nila, sagutin nila within 24 hours ang ating katanungan. Show me the line in FAO 195, 1999 that either bans, regulates, the importation and or sale of these two fish species in wet markets alone. What is the reason? Is it health? Is it economic? What is the reason? And have they, in the past 22 years, have there been instances when the DA, BFAR, implemented this, and is this not the first time? And what to do past December 3 if there are so-called violations for those who were not informed of this 1999 admin order. So I have more questions, but I just wanted to seek clarification, and perhaps, just like the Minority Leader, Mr. President, I am just as confused. They say, the more you know, the more you don't know. So the more I read this 1999 FAO order, the more now I got confused because I do not see an outright ban. So let's give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Let us ask the BFAR. Let us not wait for a hearing. The budget is still ongoing. The BICAM panels are doing the due diligence and reviewing everything, and they will have a budget. But in the meantime, it is incumbent upon Congress. The Senate can ask BFAR, and I therefore move that BFAR, DA BFAR, submits to the body a reason for the 22-year delayed implementation, assuming it is accurate, and the rationale for the so-called ban, if that's correct. So having said that, Mr. President, I will terminate my interpellation of the good gentleman and thank him for bringing this to our attention today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for your manifestation of support, Madam Senator. As Lauren Legarda, Ma'am, thank you.
Thank you, our Senate President pro tempore. Session suspended.
President, I move that we refer the privileged speech and all manifestations and interpellations thereon of Senator Rafi Tulfo to the Committee on Agriculture, Food, and Agrarian Reform. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move to consider proposed Senate Resolution number 285, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution number 293, and for the Secretary to read the title of the measure. So move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved. Secretary is requested to read the resolution.
Resolution congratulating and commending chess prodigy Binse Rafael Operiano for winning the 6th Eastern Asia Youth Chess Championship in Bangkok, Thailand.
Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, may I be recognized as sponsor and deliver my sponsorship speech?
The Majority Leader, Senator Joel Villanueva, is recognized for his sponsorship speech.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. It is my honor to give commendation to our 8-year-old chess prodigy, Vince Rafael Operiano, who emerged as the champion in the 6th Eastern Asia Youth Chess Championship held in Bangkok, Thailand last November 2022. Mr. President, his talent and skills in this mind sport were discovered at a very young age. When he was 6 years old, he won the National Age Chess Group Championship, kiddie category in Albay. He also won the boys under-9 category of the National Youth and Schools Chess Championships Grand Finals in Dapitan City, Zamboanga del Norte last September 2022. Operiano's victory in the international tournament is a testament to the exceptional talent and global excellence in sports of young Filipino athletes. Magagaling po talaga ang kabataang Pilipino, Ginoong Pangulo, sa larangan ng sports. Pero nakakalungkot po na kailangan nilang dumaan sa matinding hirap para lamang mabigyan ng pagkakataong makipagtunggali sa mga manlalaro sa ibang bansa. Operiano's family had to solicit for plane tickets and other expenses for this competition. Operiano and his father even had to spend 3 days, Mr. President, at the airport while waiting for the plane ticket sponsored by the Philippine Sports Commission. As a fellow athlete, Mr. President, this representation fully supports the need for a higher budget for sports development and for our athletes. Kaya po, sinuportahan natin ang increase ng budget ng Philippine Sports Commission para sa susunod na taon. If you recall, Mr. President, the PSC's budget in 2022 was only 725.238 million, while its budget for next year, as per our third reading, version of the General Appropriations Bill, is 2.327 billion pesos. Chess prodigy Operiano's outstanding performance has brought immense pride and inspiration to the Filipino people, and thus merits honor and recognition. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Pangulo, and may God bless us all. Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I would move that all members of the Senate be made co-authors of this resolution. So move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, no member wishes to interpolate or ask any questions or propose any amendments to the measure. I move that we adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 285, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution number 293, subject to stand. So move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, proposed Senate Resolution number 285, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution number 293, subject to style, is hereby approved. Congratulations, and thank you to Vince Rafael Operiano for giving honor to our country. Majority Leader.
Yes, is this the same resolution? Mr. President, I would just like to put into the records the request of our distinguished colleague from the city of Davao and Batangas, Province of Batangas, Senator Bongo, that his co-sponsorship speech be inserted into the records.
Is there an objection? There being none, the sponsorship speech of Senator Bongo is inserted into the records.
Would you like to do it dito sa Jiu-Jitsu? Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move to consider proposed Senate Resolution number 286, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution numbers 294 and 318, and for the Secretary to read only the title of the measure. So move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, the motion is approved. Consideration of proposed Senate Resolution number 286, take into consideration proposed Senate Resolutions number 294 and 318 is now in order. With the permission of the body, the Secretary will now read only the title of the proposed Senate resolutions without prejudice to insert into the record the whole text thereof.
Resolution recognizing and congratulating Aliyah Ayel Aguilar for her outstanding performance at the Abu Dhabi World Jiu Jitsu Championships.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, may I be recognized as sponsor and deliver this representation's sponsorship speech?
The Majority Leader, Senator Joel Villanueva, is recognized for his sponsorship speech.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Another young Filipino athlete is given spotlight in our resolution. 5-year-old Aliyah Aguilar became the Philippines' youngest world champion in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu after conquering the kids' 116 kilogram event at the 2022 Abu Dhabi World Jiu Jitsu Championships on November 13, 2022. Aguilar's victory is a testament that Jiu Jitsu runs in the family. She is the daughter of Maybelline Masuda, the first Filipino Jiu Jitsu world champion in 2009, and a gold medalist at the 2014 Asian Beach Games, and Alvin Aguilar, a gold medalist at the Asian Jiu Jitsu Championship, and considered the father of mixed martial arts in the Philippines, as well as the president and founder of the Universal Reality Combat Championship. Mr. President, Aguilar's triumph at a very young age shows the importance of training and focusing on our athletes while they are young. Similar to how other countries scout for talented young athletes, our country's grassroots sports development programs like the Palarong Pambansa and the Philippine National Games serve as avenues to spot potential world-class athletes. This representation also filed Senate Bill number 569, or the Sports Varsity Teams in Basic Education Act. We believe that through a varsity system, student athletes in K-12 will have a better chance to play athletically at a higher level. Furthermore, Mr. President, an institutionalized varsity sports team in basic education can pave the way for the provision of training equipment and upkeep of modern facilities that can help improve the training of our young athletes. Aguilar becoming the youngest Jiu-Jitsu world champion brings pride and honor to the Philippines. We are incredibly proud of her in her historic feat, and we join our colleagues in congratulating and commending Alea Aguilar for bringing pride and honor to our country and people. Thank you, Mr. President, and may God bless us all. Mr. President, at this juncture, may we recognize to co-sponsor the measure Senator Christopher Bongo from the great city of Davao City and province of Batangas. So move, Mr. President.
The gentleman from Davao and Batangas, Senator Bongo, is recognized.
Mr. President, I would like to co-sponsor the resolution recognizing Aliyah Aguilar after winning the kids 1 under 16 kilogram competition at the 2022 Abu Dhabi World Jiu Jitsu Championships. With this feat, she became the Philippines' youngest ever world champion in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Sabi ko lang po kanina kay Senator Tol, kawawa naman, mga 5 years old. Anyway, napakagaling. Aguilar was awarded the gold medal after claiming victory over Gabriela Vercosa of Brazil in the championship match held at the Jiu-Jitsu in Abu Dhabi. Her success can be traced back to her early introduction to the sport by her Jiu-Jitsu loving parents. Aliyah's accomplishment demonstrate that passion can be developed at home, and all Filipinos can be proud of its youngest Jiu-Jitsu world champion. Patunay rin po na si Aliyah na walang pinipiling edad o kasarian upang tayo ay magtagumpay sa larangan ng sports, lalo na kung tayo ay magpupursige. May Aliyah's success also serve as an inspiration to us legislators to support bills aimed at developing our grassroots sports programs so that many more young people like Aliyah can succeed in the field of sports and bring honor to the country. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Bongo. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move that all members of the Senate be made co-authors of this resolution. So moved, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, Senator Revilla and Senator Lapid would like to insert into the records their co-sponsorship speech. I move that it be inserted into the records. So moved.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, no member wishes to interpolate or ask any questions or propose any amendments to the measure. I move that we adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 286, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution numbers 294 and 318, subject to style. So moved, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, proposed Senate Resolution number 286 taken into consideration. Proposed Senate Resolutions numbers 294 and 318, subject to style, is hereby adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move to consider proposed Senate Resolution number 287, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution numbers 290 and 295, and for the Secretary to read only the title of the measure. So move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, the motion is approved. Consideration of the proposed Senate Resolution number 287, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolutions numbers 290 and 295 is now in order. With the permission of the body, the Secretary will read only the title of the proposed Senate Resolution without prejudice to insert into the record the whole text thereof.
Resolution recognizing and congratulating Rafael Paeng Nepomuceno for his outstanding performance at the Asian Seniors Championships.
Majority Leader?
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, may I be recognized to give a short sponsorship speech, Mr. President, although Senator Nancy Binay would like me to speak a little longer. May I be recognized, Mr. President?
The Majority Leader, Senator Joel Villanueva, is recognized for his sponsorship speech.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, from our youngest athletes to a master athlete in the field of bowling, Filipino bowler and coach Paeng Nepomuceno added another medal to his long list of feats by taking home the gold medal at the Asian Seniors Championships held recently in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia on November 12, 2022. He scored an impressive 1,264 points, Mr. President, as he topped the men's singles 65 and up competition. Sana all, mapapasana all ka na lang, Mr. President. Widely considered as one of the greatest international bowlers of all time, Nepomuceno is a 6-time world champion and has been honored by the Guinness World Records 4 times, Mr. President, for being the youngest 10-pin bowling world champion at the 1976 Bowling World Cup, and for most wins of the 10-pin Bowling World Cup, 1976, 1980, 1992, and 1996, and twice for the most 10-pin bowling titles. Mr. President, his talent, discipline, sportsmanship, and longevity continue to be a source of pride for the country and proves why he is a living legend in the sport of bowling and one of the greatest Filipino athletes of all time. With that, Mr. President, I join our distinguished colleagues in honoring the latest performance of our dear kababayan, Rafael Paeng Nepomuceno. Thank you so much, Mr. President, and may God bless us all. This juncture, Mr. President, I move that we recognize for his co-sponsorship speech the distinguished gentleman from Davao City and the province of Batangas, Senator Bongo. So move, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I rise once more today to co-sponsor the resolution congratulating the legendary Filipino bowler and coach Paeng Nepomuceno for adding another medal to his long list of accomplishments after winning gold at the Asian Seniors Championship, which were recently held in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Nepomuceno won the men's singles 65 and up competition. Nepomuceno is a 6-time world champion and is regarded as one of the all-time great international bowlers. He has also received 4 Guinness World Records awards. In addition, Mr. President, he is a member of the World Boxing Hall of Fame, a recipient of the President's Award from the International Olympic Committee, and the International Bowling Athlete of the Millennium and Bowling Ambassador Extraordinary. It is due to his talent, discipline, and sportsmanship that Nepomuceno is considered a living legend in the sport of bowling and one of the greatest Filipino athletes in the history of competition. His most recent victory shows that he continues to be a source of pride for the nation and is therefore deserving of our praise and commendation. Muli, maraming salamat po kay Sir Paeng sa patuloy na pagdadala ninyo ng karangalan para sa ating bansa. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Bongo. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move that all members of the Senate be made co-authors of this resolution. So move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, Senator Bong Revilla and Senator Lito Lapid would also like to co-sponsor the measure. I move that their co-sponsorship speech be inserted into the records. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, no member wishes to interpolate or ask any questions or propose amendments to the measure. I move that we adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 287 taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution numbers 290 and 295 subject to style.
Is there an objection? There being none, proposed Senate Resolution number 287, taking into consideration proposed Senate Resolution numbers 290 and 295, subject to style, is hereby adopted.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, with your indulgence and with the indulgence, Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the additional reference of business. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved. Second additional reference of business, the Secretary is requested to read.
Message from the House. Letter from the House informing the Senate that on 29 November 2022, it passed House Number 6224 entitled An Act Granting Philippine Citizenship to Justin Donta Brownlee, in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate.
Referred to the Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
Session.
President, I move for a minute suspension. So move.
Session Session resumed.
Mr. President, this is to some admin matters. This is to manifest that the senator from Cavite, Senator Ramon Bong Revilla Jr., in a letter addressed to the Senate President, has informed that he is withdrawing his authorship or the bill he filed, which is Senate Bill number 1212. This is an act authorizing higher education curriculum development and graduate training in advanced energy and green building technologies. The Senate earlier referred that bill to the Committees on Higher Technical and Vocational Education, Energy, and Finance. So move, Mr. President.
The manifestation is duly noted and without any objection, Senate Bill number 1212 is considered withdrawn. The Committees on Higher Technical and Vocational Education, Energy, and Finance, to which it was earlier referred, are hereby informed of the withdrawal, and the Secretariat is directed to have this reflected into the records.
Thank you,
Majority
Mr.
Leader.
President. Mr. President, I move that we consider our third additional reference of business, Mr. President. So move.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved. The Secretary is directed to read the third additional reference of business.
Committee report. Committee report number 13 submitted by the Committee on Justice and Human Rights on House number 6224, introduced by Representative Romero et al., entitled, An Act Granting Philippine Citizenship to Justin Donta Brownlee, recommending its approval without amendment, taking into consideration Senate numbers 1336, 1516, and 1519. Sponsor, Senator Tolentino.
Referred to the calendar for ordinary business.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture and with the consent of the body, I move that we transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders committee report number 13 on House Bill number 6224. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we consider House Bill number 6224 as reported out under committee report number 13, and for the Secretary to read only the title of the measure. So move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, the motion is approved. Consideration of House Bill number 6224 as reported out in committee report number 13 is now in order. With the permission of the body, the Secretary will read only the title of the bill without prejudice to inserting into the record the whole text thereof.
An act granting Philippine citizenship to Justin Donta Brownlee.
Mr. President, to sponsor the measure, may we recognize the distinguished gentleman from Cavite, Senator Francis Tolentino, Chairperson of the Committee on Justice and Human Rights, to deliver the sponsorship speech.
The gentleman from Cavite, Senator Francis Tolentino, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader. Thank you. Mr. President, on behalf of the Committee on Justice and Human Rights, it is with great pride and honor that I stand before this august chamber to sponsor House Bill 6224 under Committee Report number 13, taking into consideration Senate Bills 1336, 1516, and 1519. And Mr. President, we recommend the approval of this committee report without amendments, Mr. President. As a member of the Barangay Ginebra, Mr. President, and some of our colleagues here, karangalan ko pong isulong ang pagiging Pilipino ng isang kilalang basketball player na naninirahan na po sa ating bansa for the last 6 years. Compared to other athletes who were granted Filipino citizenships before, Justin Donta Brownlee has been with the Filipinos for the last 6 years. Pursuant to Congress's constitutional power, it has the legislative authority under Article 6, Section 1 of the 1987 Constitution to grant Filipino citizenship to certain foreign nationals for their significant contribution or notable service to the country and to the Filipino people. This, Mr. Brownlee has exemplified as an exceptional basketball player, and as a role model of the Filipino youth, for the Filipino youth. Born in Tifton, Georgia, Mr. Brownlee began playing basketball at a high level with the St. John's University in 2009. After college, he further honed his skills by training with the NBA Development League from 2011 to 2014. He then brought his athleticism to the Philippine shores back in 2016 when, after just being a replacement import for his ball club, he won 5 titles with Ginebra while playing in the Philippine Basketball Association. He was awarded the best import during the 2018 Commissioner's Cup and the 2021 PBA Governor's Cup. With his stellar showing in the PBA, he was also tapped to play for San Miguel Alab Pilipinas in the ASEAN Basketball League, which also yielded a championship in 2017 and 2018 season. After several stops in the various international tournaments such as the 30th Dubai International Basketball Tournament, the Lebanese Basketball League, and the UAE National Basketball League, he returned to the PBA to win more individual and collective accolades with his mother team. Mr. President, to say that the Philippines is obsessed with basketball is an understatement. In every barangay, we see children playing on the streets, wearing slippers or even barefoot, shooting in makeshift basketball rings, sometimes made of old tires and even discarded toilet bowls, Mr. President. Basketball is played and known by almost everyone in the country. This is how much we love basketball and look up to the discipline, the athleticism, the focus that comes with exceptionally being great at such an enjoyable sport. Now, this is why we look up to basketball players we idolize like Mr. Brownlee. Marami po nangangarap, mahal na Pangulo, na baka po manalo naman ang Pilipinas sa mga iba't ibang kompetisyon. Marami po nakapanood kung paano talunin ng Morocco ang Belgium sa World Cup. Marami po nakapanood kung paano rin po nanalo ang Japan sa World Cup. Marami po nangangarap hanggang sa ngayon na baka sa isang pagkakataon, sa isang iglap, ay magkaroon din po tayo ng ganong karanasan. Mr. President, Mr. Brownlee is part of that dream among youngsters, among hoopsters, among basketball players like our majority leader and the great shooting guard, Senator Bongo, as well as the great enforcer, Senator Bato de la Rosa, as well as the great shooting forward, Senator J.B. Ejercito, Mr. President. So, Mr. President, if I may continue standing at 6'6", although I intimated to the minority leader that he might be 6'6" and a half or even 6'7", and averaging 29 points per game and 10.57 rebounds per game and 7.43 assists per game, I would like to state for the record, Mr. President, that Mr. Brownlee, who is about to arrive within a few minutes, he was just entangled in some traffic conditions along the way, not through no fault of mine, Mr. President. Mr. Brownlee will be before us voluntarily applying to be a citizen of the Philippines as we participate and host the FIBA basketball tournament next year. Mahirap naman po, Mr. President, mapagaya tayo sa Qatar na opening round lang po ng World Cup, sila yung host, natalo na kagad. So yung po yung iniiwasan natin. We will be the host of the World Cup of basketball next year, and we hope to achieve some victories in that group bracket. To say that our applicant for naturalization today will greatly help the Philippine team in their quest, the Gilas team, for that elusive glory is undeniable. He will be part, I believe, of that team that we will be sending to the Southeast Asian Games and hopefully to the Asian Games, Mr. President. But let me underscore, Mr. President, that outside the field of basketball, Mr. Brownlee has endeared himself not just to the Filipino basketball fans, but more especially to our youth. Mr. President, I was informed that during the House deliberations several weeks ago, tinanong po si Mr. Brownlee, and I'm now speaking in our dialect, bakit gusto mong maging Pilipino? Ang sabi po ni Mr. Brownlee, he is now a resident of Pasig City, Mr. President. Ang nasabi po ni Mr. Brownlee, tuwing wala daw po siyang ginagawa, especially during the lockdown period, paminsan-minsan po nag-i-scooter siya, nakamotor, umiikot po siya sa Pasig City at minsan sa Quezon City, at nakikita raw po niya ang mga Pilipino, kahit sa anong kondisyon, kahit sa mga informal settlements, naglalaro ng basketball, masasaya. Nowhere in the world can you find such a group of people, always happy amidst hardship. To summarize the answer of Mr. Brownlee, ang ibig po sabihin nito, naramdaman na po niya ang kultura ng Pilipino. Hindi lang po sa pagkain ng adobo at ng minudo, naramdaman na po niya at bahagi na po siya ng ugaling Pilipino. Having stayed in the Philippines for almost 6 years now, he would often, as I've said, mix with Filipinos in his own barangay in Pasig. According to him, and I repeat this, he admires Filipinos because despite difficult conditions, we still manage to smile and be positive. With all the negativity and divisiveness in the world, he admires the Filipinos for always having a positive outlook in life and veering towards unity in the midst of any divide. Tatanungin po siguro ako mamaya kung sino mag-interpolate sa akin, Mr. President, ano ang pagkakaiba niya dun sa mga naunang naging Pilipino. Mr. Brownlee stayed here. Unlike the other Filipino naturalized players who came from abroad to play here. He was here before he was naturalized. Kaya meron na po siyang acclimatization, culturalization, and more than a positive outlook as a Filipino because he is part of us. He admires the Filipinos, as I have said, because of our positive outlook in life. Indeed, he has embraced the Filipino culture as well as embodied the Filipino values of perseverance, determination, and dedication to his craft. Kanina po, Mr. President, nagkaroon po ng hearing ang committee ni Senator De La Rosa tungkol sa ROTC. Ang sinabi po doon ng isang retired general, ang training po ng ROTC is not just to imbibe discipline, citizenship, and patriotism, but to enable the Filipino youth to be prepared to defend the Philippines. Yun po yung pinagtalunan kanina sa ROTC hearings, Mr. President. Mr. President, I was privileged to ask a pointed question to Mr. Brownlee. And I'd like to show with pride this video clip during that moment, Mr. President. Can we have the tape played? Section 4 of our Constitution, and I quote, "The prime duty of government is to serve and protect the people. The government may call upon the people to defend the state, and in the fulfillment thereof, all citizens may be required under conditions provided by law to render personal, military, or civil service." Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to defend the Philippines? Are you willing to participate in any disaster, calamity, rescue operations during typhoon season?
Apo.
Your answer is opo.
Apo.
So that means you're willing to join the Philippine Army Reserve Force.
Apo.
Thank you, Mr. Brownlee. I have no further questions. Mr. President, medyo pabiro lang po siguro ang dating sa iba, but that to me is a sign not just of a person aspiring to become a Filipino because he's an athlete, but he would want to become a Filipino and die, perhaps, as a Filipino. I recall, Mr. President, medyo hinahabaan ko na to, wala pa siya. I recall, Mr. President, a favorite idol of mine His name is Governor General Francis Burton Harrison. He died 1957 in New Jersey, Mr. President. Governor General Francis Burton Harrison served the Philippines as an American. He was a member of the American contingent fighting during that American-Cuban War. I speak from the heart, Mr. President. I have no notes. Governor General Francis Burton Harrison founded more than 100, almost 200 municipalities in the Philippines, including Oton, Iloilo, a town in Guimaras, several towns in the north, among others, Mr. President. He was an advisor to President Manuel Luis Quezon. He died November 1957 in New Jersey, in the United States, Mr. President. He died in a hospital, but he came from a wealthy family. His father was former advisor to the Confederate forces. They could have won. They could have reached the White House, but they lost during the Civil War. When he died, Mr. President, they opened his will, his last will and testament. You will be surprised, Mr. President. An American citizen, when he died in New Jersey, they opened his last will and testament. You know the contest, Mr. President? The first sentence of the last will and testament: to my relatives, my brothers and sisters, when I die, please bury me in my beloved country, the Philippines, in Manila. There was no wake done in the United States, in New Jersey. Immediately after that will was validated, he was brought to Manila. He now lies buried in an recognized graveyard somewhere in the North Cemetery, near the gates of the North Cemetery, Mr. President. I've seen that gate. I've seen that graveyard. I've seen his resting place. For several years, since 1957 or 1958, as I speak today, no one has visited that graveyard. No one. There is no relative of Governor General Francis Burton Harrison visiting that graveyard on November 1 every day, every year, annually. Wala po siyang kamag-anak. Wala po siyang tiyuhin, tiyahin, kumpare, pamangkin, inaanak na para mag-alay ng bulaklak tuwing araw ng mga patay. What I'm saying is this, Mr. President. There are perhaps some non-Filipinos wanting to be Filipinos who would prefer to die as Filipinos. I'm not saying that Mr. Justin Brownlee will be part of that tradition. But what I'm saying is this, Mr. President. Hindi po nakakahiya na tumanggap tayo ng banyaga na maging Pilipino, lalong-lalo na kung sila ay magiging tunay na Pilipino at hihigitan pa ang mga ginagawa ng ating mga bayani, kagaya po ng ginawa ni Governor General Francis Burton Harrison, whose only legacy is a name street in Pasay City and a small alley in Baguio City and a mall which is now being demolished to pave the way for another condominium project, Mr. President. So, Mr. President, we have here another American who will become a Filipino, hopefully, if this chamber would approve. As I mentioned a while ago, he has embraced the Filipino culture, he has embodied the Filipino values, and I've said this before, as a true Filipino citizen, he will dedicate his service, as he promised, by being part of the readiness of the Philippine Army Reserve Force. Mr. President, in all aspects, the Philippines has evolved and is continuing to adapt the international sphere to remain competitive, especially in sports. It is this representation's strong belief, together with the other authors of the measure, Senator Bongo, who filed Senate Bill 1336, together with Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Justin Donta Brownlee, as well as the Senate Bill 1516, introduced by Senator Sani Angara, entitled An Act Granting Philippine Citizenship to Justin Donta Brownlee, and Senate Bill 1519, introduced by Senator Joel Villanueva, entitled An Act Granting Philippine Citizenship to Justin Donta Brownlee. Mr. President, ang paniniwala ko po, this is my belief, strong belief, that Mr. Brownlee will not just be a great addition to Philippine sports, specifically basketball, but to our country as well. I believe he will be an exceptional addition to the long list of proud citizens of our great republic. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Tolentino, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Tolentino. Next to co-sponsor the measures, the distinguished gentleman from Davao City and Batangas Province, no other than Senator Bongo. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
The gentleman from Davao and Batangas, Senator Bongo, is recognized.
Mr. President and esteemed colleagues, as one of the co-authors of the measures being taken into consideration, it is with great honor that I co-sponsor the bill granting Philippine citizenship to Mr. Justin Donta Brownlee. Parating na raw. Excited na kami ni sponsor Senator Tol. Born in Georgia, USA, Mr. Brownlee first arrived in the Philippines in 2016 as a recruit in the Philippine Basketball Association competitions. He initially joined as a replacement import. He then showcased his talents, which led Barangay Ginebra claim its first PBA championship in 8 years. Since then, he has assisted and led his team achieve 5 PBA championships in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2021. Dahil sa kagalingan niya sa court, maraming Pilipino ang napahanga niya. He is admired by millions of Filipino basketball fans. Mr. Brownlee did not take too much credit for his team's accomplishments and just prided himself to just being there for his team. Hindi lang po dahil sa husay sa court dapat hangaan si Justin Brownlee, kundi pati na rin sa kanyang pagpapakumbaba. Despite suffering from an injury last year, Mr. Brownlee managed to claim the 5th spot on the all-time import scoring list. He was also named Best Import twice, first in the 2018 PBA Commissioner's Cup, and second in the 2021 PBA Governor's Cup. This shows his dedication to the sport and his commitment to his team. Kaya naman, habang tumatagal, mas nagiging deserving siya na naturalize. Nakaka-blend siya sa basketball team natin. Alam na niya kung paano yung mga galaw ng kanyang mga teammates. Alam naman natin na napaka-importante po kung naka-blend ka na po sa mga teammates mo para manalo. Nandyan po, isa pang idol, nandyan no, katabi ni Justin Brownlee, yung team captain, yung nakakalo. Yung Tolentino, magaling mag 3 points. Nakita ko kagabi, puro 3 points si... Kano-ano mo si Arvin? Pamangkin ni Tol. And of course, salamat rin po sa lahat no, during the hearing. Ang ating enforcer, Senator Bato de la Rosa, ang ating majority floor leader, ang Court General. Yan ang pinakamagaling na basketball player dito sa Senado. Sigurado ako si Senator Joel Villanueva, si Senator JV, and of course si Senator Angara na napakahusay. And of course ang aming team manager, Senator Nancy Binay, ang mga muse, Senator Risa, at nandito na talaga si Justin Brownlee sa likod. Timing with his career achievements, I have no doubt that Justin Brownlee will be a huge help to Gilas Pilipinas in the FIBA Basketball World next year. Importante po na magkaroon tayo ng malakas na national team dahil tayo rin ang isa sa mga host ng FIBA World Cup sa susunod na taon. As a PBA fan, madalas po akong manood ng mga laban at masasabi ko po talaga na malaki ang magiging kontribusyon ni Justin Brownlee sa ating team. Kalimutan ko pong banggitin, of course, ang aside from Muse and manager, dito po ang ating financer ng team, Senator Cynthia Villar. Of course, kayo po ang pinaka-financer dito, ma'am. Lahat. Si SP, sana ba? Pinaka-boss natin dito. Salamat rin po sa lahat ng kasama natin dito na sumusuporta. And of course, alam ko namang sinusuportahan niyo po ang ating Gilas basketball team. As a PBA fan, madalas po akong manood ng mga laban at masasabi ko talaga na malaki ang magiging kontribusyon ni Justin Brownlee sa ating national team. Sa pananatili niyo dito sa ating bansa, napatunayan niya, hindi lang sa basketball skill niya, kundi pati na rin sa pagmamahal niya po sa Pilipino at sa bansa. Alam kong naisapuso na niya ang ating tradisyon at kultura. Nalimutan ko lang pong tanungin, nag-asawa na ba ito? Justin, are you married already? Are you married? Not yet, but you have a girlfriend? Oh? Are you telling the truth? Anyway, mahalin mo ang Pilipina, ha? Napamahal na siya sa mga Pilipino at alam ko po rin na napamahal na rin ang mga Pilipino sa kanya, vice versa. Sabi ko nga sa hearing, ito ang pinaka-importante. Higit sa talento sa basketball, ipinapakita niya ang puso niya na lumalaban para sa Pilipino at ang pagmamahal niya sa ating bayan. Patuloy siyang magiging inspirasyon ng Pilipinong kabataan, lalo na pagdating sa sports at paglayo sa mga bisyo tulad ng illegal na droga. Paalala ko lang kay Mr. Brownlee, tulad ng napag-usapan noong hearing, ang pagbibigay ng Philippine citizenship ay hindi basta-basta. Bukod sa paglaro sa larangan ng palakasan at pagrepresenta ng bansa, kasama rin dito ang tungkulin ng bawat mamamayang Pilipino na magsilbi sa bayan at unahin ang interes ng Pilipinas. Mr. Brownlee, naway patuloy mong isapuso ang pagiging isang Pilipino. Mahalin mo ang Pilipinas higit sa pagmamahal na ipinaparamdam sa iyo ng mga Pilipino. As chairperson of the Committee on Sports and an avid basketball fan, I am proud that we would gain a new brother that we can proudly call Filipino. It is for these reasons that I am asking this chamber's support for granting Philippine citizenship to Mr. Justin Brownlee. 3 points. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Bongo, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, next to co-sponsor the measures, the distinguished gentleman from the province of Bohol and the province of Davao and the Republic of the Philippines, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. I move that he be recognized, Mr. President.
Senator Bato de la Rosa is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, Majority Leader. Good afternoon, Mr. President, and distinguished colleagues. It is my honor and privilege to co-sponsor House Bill number 6224, taking into consideration Senate Bill number 1336 filed by this representation under Committee Report number 13, a measure which will grant Philippine citizenship to Mr. Justin Donta Brownlee. Born on April 23, 1988 in Georgia, USA, Mr. Brownlee first arrived in the Philippines in 2016 as a basketball recruit of the Philippine Basketball Association. He traveled across the globe and easily bounced his way to every Filipino's hearts. He was invited to become as an import of the best PBA team, my team, Barangay Ginebra. Mr. Brownlee was so well loved that the residents of the Barangay Ginebra invited him to play for them again and again and again. They could not get enough of him, and he was treated like their own. In such a short span of time, Mr. Brownlee has been awarded a 2-time Best Import Trophy, an achievement that only the best of the best can attain. Indeed, Mr. Brownlee has exhibited his high basketball IQ. This resulted to 5 PBA titles for my beloved Ginebra team. Authoring and co-sponsoring a naturalization bill in favor of a very humble individual like Mr. Brownlee is more than an honor for a legislator like me. His humility has endeared him not only to the Filipino basketball fans, but to the Filipino nation, especially the one Ginebra nation. He has chosen to raise the Philippine flag to represent the country in the international arena by choice and, more importantly, without any reservation. It is not just his love for basketball and his astounding performance that makes Mr. Brownlee as inspiration to us as basketball fans. During the committee hearing of the Senate Committee on Justice and Human Rights, Mr. Brownlee, without any hesitation, expressed his intention to join the government in its anti-drug campaign and the AFP Reserve Force should he be granted Philippine citizenship. With these qualities, Mr. President, it is this representation's humble opinion that Mr. Brownlee is truly a Filipino by heart, as he has shown love for the country, a quality that makes one more than qualified to be granted Philippine citizenship. To grant of his citizenship will make us one step closer from having our own version of a dream team that will represent and win for our country in international basketball tournaments. Thus, I urge my colleagues, Ginebra fans or not, to support the passage of this measure. Thank you, and good afternoon again, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator De La Rosa, Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, next to co-sponsor the measures, the distinguished gentleman from the province of Aurora, Senator Sani Angara, but he asked this representation to just insert into the records his sponsorship speech.
Is there an objection? There being none, the sponsorship speech of Senator Angara is inserted into the records.
Mr. President, may I also be allowed to give a short sponsorship speech as I'm one of the authors of this measure, Mr. President.
The Majority Leader, Senator Joel Villanueva, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. In 6 minutes, magandang gabi na. Mr. President, basketball is life. And it goes without saying that the Philippines as a nation is a basketball crazy country, Mr. President. Aside from religiously following the National Basketball Association and idolizing its superstars, the country likewise prides itself for its own Philippine Basketball Association, the country's professional basketball league and the first of its kind in Asia. Since then, Mr. President, a number of other professional and collegiate basketball leagues have been introduced in response to the growing enthusiasm of the Filipinos to participate in this sport. Hindi na po ako lalayo, Mr. President. I myself was a product of the varsity team of UST High School. My high school teammate is here in the gallery. My college teammate in the person of Jay Torres is also here, Mr. President, as a UST Tigers basketball superstar, Mr. President. And this dedication to the game is further manifested in the game of basketball in international basketball competitions such as Asian Basketball Cup, Mr. President, where we found out that Justin Brownlee is one of our prized players, Mr. President. Thus, it is my great honor, Mr. President, to co-sponsor House Bill number 6224 under Committee Report number 13, or an act granting Philippine citizenship to Justin Donta Brownlee. Justin was born on April 23, 1988 in Georgia, United States of America. His contributions helped his team win 5 PBA titles. And as a Barangay Ginebra fan, we are looking forward to his 6th title in the PBA. And aside, Mr. President, from winning the Best Import Award, not once, but twice, these achievements have brought enormous pride and joy to the Philippine Basketball Association and admiration from all basketball enthusiasts in the country. With a very illustrious career in basketball, he wishes to play for the Philippine national team and has expressed his desire to stay in the country and be a naturalized citizen. Mr. President, I was present during the committee hearing held in this very building of GSIS building. And Mr. President, I was so impressed to the fact that he himself volunteered, Mr. President, to train our very own Gilas players because of his experience, Mr. President. If you recall, he's been playing to different parts of the world. And so he knows what it's like to play in international competition. He volunteered himself, Mr. President, para sa ganoon ay mahasa at lalo pang gumaling at ma-expose ang ating mga basketball players in international competition. Mr. President, his drive to hone his craft, discipline to stay in shape, and determination to win games makes him an epitome of a true Filipino athlete. Mr. Brownlee also demonstrated his willingness to immerse himself in the Filipino culture by learning how to speak Tagalog, being involved in several community service projects, and even expressing his excitement to vote, Mr. President, in the next elections. He has indeed imbibed the bayanihan spirit. We will not ask him to sing the Lupang Hinirang today, Mr. President, but probably when we pass this particular measure. But Mr. Brownlee's unequivocal allegiance to this country, admirable sportsmanship, and remarkable skills in the field of basketball will complement the country's roster of world-class athletes and help the Philippine national team regain recognition in international basketball tournaments. Mr. President, his love for the Philippines and basketball truly makes him a Filipino at heart, and we are very blessed to have him. We welcome him as one of our own, and we look forward to seeing him wearing the Philippine jersey in the 2023 FIBA World Cup. Before I end, Mr. President, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude to our esteemed colleagues, especially the sponsor of this measure, Chairman Senator Francis Tolentino, for his unwavering support to the field of sports in the country and for steadfastly pushing for the passage of this bill. As I mentioned to him earlier, this citizenship bill is probably the fastest, if I'm not mistaken, in the history of this August chamber because of the time constraints, Mr. President, that we are encountering, Mr. President. So again, Mr. President, this representation fully supports this particular measure. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, and may God bless us all. Mr. President, at this juncture, some of our colleagues present here today already asked this representation to move that they become co-sponsor of the measure. Senator Risa Ontiveros, Senator Nancy Binay, and Senator Cynthia Villar. At this juncture, Mr. President, I move that we recognize the distinguished gentleman from the city of San Juan, Senator Jinggoy Estrada. So moved, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Am I recognized, Mr.
The
President?
gentleman from San Juan, the better one, is recognized.
Let it be placed on record, Mr. President, that the good one said the better one.
I thought you forgot to recognize me. Anyway, Mr. President, I am not here to derail the passage of the Filipino citizenship of Mr. Brownlee. In fact, I am here to manifest my wholehearted support. As you well know, I am an avid fan of Ginebra during the Jaworski era. I have never missed a basketball game of Ginebra during when former Senator Robert Jaworski was still playing for Ginebra. And there is only one condition that I would want to suggest. So I will not interpolate anymore the main sponsor of this bill. If only Justin Brownlee can suit up for San Juan Knights at the MPBL, then I will support the Filipino citizenship of Justin Brownlee. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Jinggoy, before we continue, I think Justin Brownlee can be considered the cousin of Senator Binay and yours truly. Magkasing itim kami.
Mr. President, Senator Mark Villar also wished to become co-author and sponsor of the measure, Mr. President. Let me co-sponsor of the measure. So moved, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, with the indulgence of our colleagues, let me welcome also the presence of Deputy Executive Director Butch Antonio, Attorney Aga Francisco, and Mark Solano, from Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas. They are all here. We welcome all of them in this August chamber. Your Senate, Mr. President.
You are all welcome to the Senate.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 6224 under Committee Report number 13. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, with your indulgence and with the indulgence of my distinguished colleagues, let me also recognize and welcome, for the record of this Senate, Mr. President, my dear professor from the Economic Society, former dean of ECOSOC in the University of Santo Tomas, and she played an important role in my life, Mr. President. She was my mentor. She taught me, she teaches labor economics, managerial economics, author of so many economics books, Mr. President. She is here with us, Mr. President, and the Bible says, give honor to whom honor is due. And please allow this humble representation to just welcome her in this August chamber, no other than my professor, the Dean of Economic Society, former Dean of ECOSOC, Ma'am Rosemary Dino, Mr. President.
Dean Rosemary Dino is you're welcome to the Senate.
And yes, Mr. President, and just forget those classmates of mine who are seated in the gallery as well. Thank you, Mr. President. I move for a minute suspension, Mr. President.
Session
Mr. President, indeed today is such a joyous and fruitful day. Mr. President, I move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Monday, December 5, 2022. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, the session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, December 5, 2022.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, dear colleagues.